How dare you go out like this? The restaurant hall is full, even if the seat of Yunwoo and others is in the corner, but this kind of disgust-like sound, or quickly spread one after another. It won't take a moment. Almost even the people on the second floor looked down along the voice of the discussion around them. Seeing that, I have no appetite. That's right. It's really disgusting. It's hard for people to eat. There is no virtue left behind in all the comments. This let cloud dance that eye's bottom flashed a cold and sharp streamer. However, sitting beside her, Long Qingxie was indifferent. Holding the chopsticks, he ordered the dishes for Yunwoo first. His voice was hoarse and he said, "Eat." This man, he did it on purpose. Looking at the man's deep black eyes, cloud dance in the cold eyes, suddenly flashed a smile. I don't quite understand his intention, but he also picked up his chopsticks and gave him a piece of meat. You are really disfigured." When Liuzi looked at the dragon's face, he was stunned for a few seconds and then said something subconsciously. But he seems to be an idiot. Long Shitzi is another well-known waist in addition to the waist of Miss Yunjiaju. It's not only easy to be destroyed, but also broken. At the beginning, when the emperor of the Zhou dynasty decided to marry them, it can be said that no one in the whole Zhou dynasty knew it. For a long time, it was a joke that people mocked. "Chief, don't you see that? The dragon pours its evil and its mouth is slightly raised." I saw that his burned face, because of that smile and twisted wrinkle together, extremely ugly. It seems that Yunqi did not expect that the face under the perennial black veil of Dragon 3 was so severely burned. Almost none of them was flat, but all of them were potholes. Even half of the lips were burned. He that week, Batian gave cloud dance to him, which obviously embarrassed their cloud family and wronged his granddaughter. Although Yunqi has heard of the appearance of Long San, he has never seen it. Now, with this view, a faint anger rises in his heart. Even if his granddaughter is a waste, no matter how unhappy, it is also the blood descendants of their cloud family. But the betrothed object is like this that Zhou Batian really deceived people too much. Seeing Yunqi's sinking face, it seems that his anger rises faintly. However, Long Qingxie's smile rises a little deeper. What he wants is really Yunqi's dissatisfaction with Zhou Batian, because it won't be long. When he really appears in his true identity, it means that one day, it is very likely that the Cloud family will need to choose between the Cloud dance and the royal family. The Cloud family has been a general for generations, and their loyalty to the royal family of the Zhou dynasty can almost be obtained. I hope that one day in the future, they will not let Yunwoo down in their choice. Damn, I'm not allowed to eat. I'm going to change tables. Little 2, roll over here. We need to change tables. At this time, the next table, suddenly came a loud tap table sound. See only, a few young men. A face anger of stand up from the table, angry voice up. The hall, which was still noisy, suddenly became silent. The line of sight toward that pats the table several people to look in the past. My guest, the shop is full. I really can't change tables. As soon as the second brother heard this, he rushed over and said respectfully to the young people. The head of a slightly fat man, grabbed the collar of the small 2. I don't care if you have a table. Anyway, change the table for us immediately, otherwise, let the people at the next table get out. That's to say, even if you look like this, it's intended to be a personal disgust. Several young people immediately disliked the agreement. As soon as he saw that it was Liuzi's table, he was in a dilemma. My guest, I'm really sorry. All the guests in the hotel are our distinguished guests in Jushin building. I really can't. However, before the second brother finished speaking, the fat man was impatient and left him. The second little brother didn't stand firm and ran into the cloud dancing table. That has not started the dish, suddenly bang, was knocked down next to a dish. Yunqi is not in a good mood at all. When she encounters this kind of thing, her face looks very ugly. Even the willow on one side was downcast. In this Lingxing, the city where the Samurai Academy takes root, no one dares to smash the restaurant so arrogantly. These young people, it seems, have some eyes. I'm sorry, distinguished guests. I have something to say. I have something to say. As soon as the shopkeeper saw that the situation was not right, he immediately came over. At this time, the guests are full. If you start, it will affect others, and the loss will be great. However, when the shopkeeper saw the willow in the corner, his face changed obviously. Immediately, he bowed to the willow and called respectfully, "Tutor, director, so you are here. I'm sorry to disturb your meal." See, that shopkeeper awaited respectful call. Immediately let the people in the hall at this time is a sign long. Tutor director? Is that the tutor director of the Samurai Academy? At this time, it seems that many people noticed that the school uniform on Yunwu and Longqingxi seemed to be the school uniform of Shenwang Samurai College. All of a sudden, many people can't help looking at Liuzi. They begin to look at the Dragon 3 in their eyes and gradually converge. If it's the director of the college, talk to the students. Who dares to offend those present without words and without reason? Even the young people who were just shouting at the table were stunned and looked at each other as if they were worried about each other. However, the slightly fat man, in full view of the public, felt that he couldn't get off the stage. Shopkeeper, even if he is a tutor, he should not be so disgusting in public places. Your restaurant is a place to eat. Fat man's voice, also some loud like spread. Cloud Dance a listen, coldly stirred up a smile. Then you mean, we don't like to eat? When the fat man heard this, he immediately swept to the clouds. When the line of sight swept to her body wearing a freshman badge of ordinary students, there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. I don't know if you're here for dinner, but since your friend looks like this, it's better not to be disgusting and frightening. What's more, you have just heard your voice, but your behavior has seriously affected us. After the fat man finished, he glanced at his companion. The others, though they seemed to have some idea about Liuzi and Yunqi, still spoke in a thick voice and agreed with each other. That's right. You heard what you just said. You have affected our appetite. Naturally, we have every effort to change tables. It's just... Long Qingxia's words to those people flashed through his dark eyes, but his mouth seemed to evoke a strange smile. I don't know. How can you have an appetite? So that your appetite will not be affected? Hoarse voice, with a touch of strange color of the ring. All around the line of sight, at this moment Brush looked in the past. When the fat man heard this, he suddenly snorted coldly. Since the tutor and director of your college are here, we don't want to make a big fuss. As long as you apologize to us and then leave, or put back your dosha, that's all. Apologizing? Hearing those words, Long Qingxia seems to have heard some jokes. Ha ha, what are you laughing at? Seeing the smiling face of Long Qingxia, the fat man narrowed his eyes and was obviously in a bad mood. Nothing. It's just interesting to hear a clown's words. Clown? The fat man reacted, and his face suddenly became angry. You call me a clown? He is such an ugly and low-level person. Dare to abuse him like this? At this time, the badges on Long Qingxia's body, like Cloud Dance, were the badges of ordinary freshmen. People with a clear eye can see it at a glance. Therefore, he didn't pay attention to Yunwu and Longqing. As for the two old men around them, although they were worried, they didn't worry much. Because this is the Mausoleum City, a city with agreements with other two countries. These young people are the students of the Kingdom of one of the three big countries. As long as they don't do it first, even the tutors of the college can't do it to them. As a matter of fact, when these young people passed through the mausoleum this time, they just heard that the mausoleum is more prosperous than other countries, so they wanted to take advantage of the adventure of going out of the college to visit it. Did I scold you? Now that you are in the right place, you can't blame me. Long Qingxia's hoarse voice seems to be getting low gradually. On one side, Yunqi, who was full of fire, was stunned when he heard the sudden low voice of Long Qingxia. So familiar? It's very similar to the one in Ningyuan soon. Yunqi can't help but stare at the dragon. He should not be that? At this time, Yunqi's heart changed, and the students of an kingdom naturally didn't observe. The fat man's face became ugly after hearing the speech. Well, that's the attitude of the Samurai Academy people towards foreigners. Okay, since it's you who picked the first thing, don't blame us. At the same time, the fat man suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed to Yunwu and Longqing. Now, In the name of the students of Huangshu College of the Kingdom Oven, I challenge the students of Shinwu Samurai College. Next challenge? As soon as the fat man's words fell, the voices all around were silent. This book had a quiet lunch, but unexpectedly, such a scene happened. However, when people present heard the 3 words of the challenge, they seemed to be interested in it for some reason, and they were excited. This is the site of the Samurai Academy. Take the challenge. That's it. Take the challenge and fight. Duel. One side of the shopkeeper with small 2. Hear the voice of those people. Immediately can't help but some anxious to see Liuzi. How can people in this mausoleum city not understand the badge strength sign on the student school uniforms? The reason why Yunwu and Longqingxi wear school uniforms to the restaurant did not attract many people's attention is that the ordinary badge on their school uniforms shows their inferior strength. At this time, he was challenged by students from other countries. If you take on the challenge and defeat it, it will not be very good for the reputation of the Samurai Academy. However, I didn't wait for the shopkeeper and sophomore to worry too much. When the fat man pointed to Yunwu, Liuzi looked at the fat man with a sneer. Challenge that girl? I'm not afraid to go back. The noise around was getting louder and louder, but Yunwu and Longqingxi didn't move, which made the fat man feel warm-blooded. He pointed to the cloud dance and the dragon and sneered. You 2 cowards, dare to take my challenge? If you don't dare, you'd better apologize to me and get out of here. Cloud dance and dragon poor evil a listen to. The corner of the mouth is very tacit understanding of cold. How stupid is this fat man? He came to the door looking for death. Your challenge is not worthy of us both. The cloud dances lightly to smile a similar way to rise. When the guests around heard Yunwu's words, they seemed to make a mockery of it. 2 low-level strength, unexpectedly said, does not match them 2 people to start. That tone is too big. Although the fat man did not show his strength, from his steady breath, you can guess that his strength is certainly not weak. When the fat man heard this, he laughed with laughter. Haha, your tone is quite big. Well, if you take my challenge, I'll let you try the consequences of too big a tone. Don't worry, I'll at least show mercy to women. However, before the fat man finished speaking, a strange force of oppression suddenly fell from the air. Strong pressure, so that the fat man's words are suppressed. However, with the fat man as the center, even his companions seemed to feel the impact. But at this time, the eyes of the fat man and his companions suddenly widened, and the pupils suddenly shrank. Cloud danced that sneer face, close to appear in front of them. In a short moment, almost without blinking an eye, she stood in front of them from the seat in the corner. What speed is that? So, I'll take your challenge. A very cold voice swept by. However, looking at the strange sneer outlined in the corner of Cloud Dancing's mouth, the fat man only felt that his heart suddenly flashed an inexplicable tight. He felt that his body was empty, and he was sweating. It's like he's provoking someone he shouldn't be. However, he just said that he was challenging on behalf of Huangshu College of the Kingdom Oven. At this time, he was not allowed to retreat at all. What's more, how could the girl who looked so weak make him feel dangerous? He must have been oversensitive. The fat man thought of this, and suddenly he felt like he had a lot of confidence. Well, you said that, and your tutor was also present to prove it. If you start later, I won't be responsible for the injury. Of course, you are not responsible for life or death. Cloud Dance stares at him and says with a smile. See Cloud Dance that words fall. All around the guests seem to hear what words of boiling blood. Suddenly a shout up. Stop talking nonsense and fight quickly. It's a duel. Fight, a high voice raised, and a fanatical gaze at Yunwu and the fat man. In this world of martial arts, nothing is more exciting than watching a fight. People around seem to want them to stop immediately. However, when he heard the words life or death from Yunwu, the fat man suddenly trembled at the bottom of his heart, and a bad feeling rose. How is this feeling again? The fat man, who has just straightened up his waist, suddenly looks at the Cloud Dance with a bad look, and his eye-ground vigilance suddenly rises. But in the high voice around, it can only be hardened. He is a senior student of Huangshu College. Is he afraid of such a low-level freshman? Think of here. The fat man immediately at the foot of a certain two fists suddenly a grip. A fighting spirit belonging to the 6th level medium-term strength was aroused from the body, and the muscles of the whole body swelled up. Although, to deal with such a low-level freshman, we have all the strength, and some of them cheat the small with the big. But he can't control it. Anyway, he beat her down first. When the people around felt the breath of the middle of the 6th order, it seemed that there was an uproar of surprise. The middle of the 6th order? That man is actually the strength of the middle of the 6th stage. No wonder he is a student of An Kingdom, but he dares to come to Lingxing to challenge the students of Shenwang Samurai Academy. It turned out to be such a strong strength. At that time, the onlookers around were even more fanatical, but they also felt sympathy for the low level of Cloud Dance. Hope, don't lose too ugly, otherwise, it's really a shame to the King of God Warrior Academy. Cloud Dance's C. The corner of the mouth that outlines the arc deepened a few minutes. Then, he clenched his fist slightly, twisted his neck, loosened his shoulder bone, and seemed to be preparing. Girl, don't make people die. At this time, Liuzi's low voice came quickly. Although this is the first challenge of non-kingdom students, if they hang up their senior students in Lingxing, it is estimated that there are still some small problems. Yunwu gave a faint smile and said, "Don't worry, I'll pay him back as much as he wants to hurt me. If he wants my life, I'll take his life." What? That fat man here's, originally not very good facial expression, immediately ting up a fury. Smelly girl, you are really a big voice. Is it just a big breath? She always does what she says. However, at this time, feeling the tension of the atmosphere, one side of the shopkeeper quickly raised his hand and said, "Since the two of you are taking over the challenge from both sides in our store, let me be the referee. However, the position is too crowded now, so we will move the dual position to the spacious place at the door." Say, the shopkeeper let Small Two quickly to the door to evacuate pedestrians, move out of an open space. The gate of Jushin building. At this time, it can be said that a large number of onlookers gathered, and it seems that many people who heard the news also came from other streets to watch the excitement. Yunwu and the fat man are standing in the empty position, and the shopkeeper is standing in the middle of them. The atmosphere is getting hotter and hotter, and the shopkeeper is not procrastinating. At the moment, he raised his arm and waved in front of them, shouting loudly, "Duel, start!" With a drink, the shopkeeper immediately flashed, nimbly retreated to one side, leaving the open space for the dueling two. Roar! At the moment when the shopkeeper stepped down, the fat man made a low roaring voice. The fighting spirit surges from the body, and the strong breath is only around the cage. The whole body becomes fat and muscle, and the extraordinary strong man has strength. See here, all around the crowd, is very excited to shout up. However, there are also a lot of people who can't help but feel cold sweat for Yunwu when they see the momentum of the fat man. This kind of strong breath is fighting. Can the withered and thin girl be an opponent? This punch goes down, that small body estimates to break up. However, for the different thoughts of surrounding, what Liuzi and Yunqi are worried about is not Yunwu, but the fat man. I hope he won't kill himself later. Long Qingxia's face, which was not wearing black dosha, evoked a strange smile like a demon. His black eyes were staring at the clouds, as if he was appreciating his favorite. Cloud Dance looked at the fat man, saw his specially bulging muscles, can't help but feel a little funny. Is he fighting? Or is he playing with his body in public? However, at this time, Yunwu gently raised his little fist and measured how much strength it needed to deal with him. It seems that we don't have to show our strength at all. However, the gesture of raising her little fist is a little funny in the eyes of others. Even without fighting, just raising her little fist is like fighting against the strength of the middle of the 6th level. The girl's skull is broken. Fat Man C is also a sneer. It seems that he is really oversensitive. How powerful can this little girl who is so weak that he pinches her 2 fingers to death? Smelly girl, you have to be careful. Wait, I'll crush your little fist. The fat man disdained to shout, and his fighting spirit immediately enveloped his whole body and condensed on his fist. He stepped forward one by one, and his swift fist only called to the cloud-dancing face. It seems that I want to beat Yunwoo down with one punch. Cloud danced to hook lips to smile, looking at that straight fist to greet on own face of fist, foot lightly aside body. Got away with it? Fat man along. But soon, the fundus is sneer. It seems that this girl really speed up the guy. There is no strength, otherwise also won't only know how to dodge. This thought must be another fist of fat man once again fierce brandish. One punch, two punches, three punches, every punch is so fierce. There is a pledge to Cloud Dance to fight the momentum. But soon, the fat man was a little surprised. Because his strength in the middle of the sixth stage, continuous and rapid boxing so many times, even the girl's hair did not touch. How is this possible? Is she stronger than him? Or what speed skills did she learn? However, just at this time, all around watching are nervous and warm-blooded people. At this time, they seem to be dissatisfied with the evasion of Cloud dancing and can't help shouting, "Come on, do it. Don't just hide." That's right, let's go. Fight quickly. For the cry of discontent around. Suddenly let that look suddenly dark, suddenly bright fat man heart have a plan. Smelly girl, you are fighting on behalf of your King's Samurai Academy. Do you all know how to dodge? If you have the ability, don't hide. Just fight me head on. The fat man was so loud that almost the whole street could hear him clearly. And in that cheering down, all around was still in an uproar of shouts. Suddenly all stopped. One after another, the line of sight swept, frowning at the fat man. Although, at this time, the onlookers were not from the King of God's Samurai Academy. However, Shenwang Samurai College was the college that the whole Zhou dynasty people yearned for, and it was also the spiritual place of the young people of the Zhou dynasty. At this time, the students from other countries said in public that they would only dodge, even if people just want to see the duel, but at this time, most people are dissatisfied. The three great powers are juxtaposed. At this time, they are on their own territory. How can the people of other countries be in a good mood? What's the name of the King Warrior Academy? People are all turtles with shrunken heads. I don't know why you fat man's words are so unpleasant. That is, don't think you are a student from other countries. Dare to be so arrogant. This is Lingcheng. Pay attention to your words. Just now, the voice of blood shouting suddenly turned into a voice that was not full. This is somewhat unexpected. However, the fat man just ignored the noise around him. But despicable, stop at the foot of the cloud to dodge that moment. Fist suddenly clenched, body shape a flash, with rapid and ferocious force, straight at the cloud's small face hit. Damn, sneak attack. It's mean. At this time, I do not know who's sharp-eyed to see. Suddenly rude angry call. All of a sudden, everyone responded. But at that moment, the whole street seemed silent. A pair of twinkling eyes like a touch of surprise, looking straight at it, like a scene has been frozen. How? Fat man's surprised stare, straight lung looking at, that even Flash also didn't flash, so gently raised her little hand cut off his fist Cloud Dance. And the fat man's several companions is also in that moment silly eyes like a face can't believe looking at the cloud. How possible? That's mid-sixth. Fat man almost used the power of the middle of the sixth order to give a full punch, but was caught like that? It's still a teenage girl. What's more, it was so easy to take over. How can it be? The fat man felt a sense of horror in his heart. Looking at the girl in front of him, the strange and terrible feeling seemed to seep out of his heart at the same time. Her strength, is really better than him? Cloud Dance looked at the fat man's face. The corners of his lips could not help sketching up. Since you have already done it, then, now it's me. With the Cloud Dance, the words just fell. Click, click. Some kind of small sound like a broken bone came suddenly. Ah! Fat man at that moment, the face of a white scream. Almost at the same time, he arched his elbow to pull his fist back from Yunwoo's little hand. But he just moved. Click. The sound of broken bones came again. Pain, let go. Fat man finally miserable white face of frown of hurriedly open mouth. Yunwoo smiles and glances at the fat man carelessly. Pain? What's the pain? I didn't hit you again. You are such a big man who suddenly screams like this for no reason. It's frightening to death. Do all the men in the Royal College of Aenon Kingdom like to sing so much? Isn't it a sick little girl? In a word, the fat man and his companion's face suddenly changed, and their eyes were filled with anger. However, the crowd who watched the silence were surprised. When they heard this sentence, they immediately reacted and laughed. That laughter, very happy. Well said, little girl. A master. Even if you play sneak attack, it's not a shame to steal chicken and eat rice, but cry like a girl. That's it. I'm so happy. When the fat man and his companions heard the words of the onlookers, their faces were ugly, their fists clenched, and they were very angry. Damn, you dare to insult our Huangshu College. I want you to pay the price of bleeding. The fat man roared, and then a strange, strong breath suddenly rose from his veins. The fist intercepted by Yunwu suddenly broke away. The numbness left in the palm of his hand makes Yunwu pick up his eyebrows and look at the fat man who is strong again. Forced to improve the strength of the martial arts? This martial art is familiar. By the way, isn't it similar to the fat man in the team I met in the Southern Warcraft forest some time ago? It seems that she really needs to study this strange martial art. The strength in the middle of the 6th level was forcibly promoted to the later stage of the 7th level, and it was promoted by more than one level. With the change of the breath on the fat man, all the people around can't help but shout and stare at the fat man in surprise. Fat man enforced to enhance the strength. There is no hesitation, suddenly forward, straight attack cloud. There was a roar of fists. But the next second, a breathing sound suddenly spread. Attack fist failed again? No, the whole person in front of us has disappeared. Just like that, it disappeared out of thin air. Since you can't wait, let's finish early. At the moment when the fat man was stunned, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly came from his ear. What? The fat man opened his eyes and looked at the figure in front of him again. He was shocked and almost subconsciously wanted to escape. However, the small fist had come to him. It was also in that second that he knew that the strength of the girl in front of him was far beyond his strength. Even if he forcibly promoted his strength, he was still not her opponent. What kind of monster is she? Ah! Screams again in this street. Fat man's body with his miserable cry directly flew out of more than 10 meters, flutter, a dull sound, fell on the ground in a panic. When he got up slowly from the ground, his nose was bleeding and his whole face was swollen into a pig's head. Well, poof. A cough, a mouthful of blood with a few front teeth spit out. When he saw the teeth falling from the blood, the fat man finally cried out, "Oh, Cliff!" The front teeth fell, and the speech leaked seriously. When the onlookers saw this scene, they were shocked. That girl, at most 15 or 16 years old, but a punch to the 6 or 7 level strength of the strong to fly out. What rhythm is that? Is it true that the girl's strength is stronger than that of the fat man with 6 or 7 levels of strength? However, while they were shocked in their hearts, they were amused by the expression of a fat man like a pig's head. Oh, my Cliff, my teeth? Shit, it's so funny. Fat man slowly too. Just cover the mouth and nose to see cloud dance. At this time his heart is angry abnormal, but at the same time there is a trace of inexplicable fear. She is absolutely not a normal person. However, when the fat man looked at Yunwu, Yunwu's steps were slowly coming towards him. Suddenly, the fat man's face changed. Suddenly he cried, "You, don't come here, otherwise, don't blame us for being rude to you at the same time." And be rude to her at the same time? This sentence, I do not know why, said the unusual no momentum. In fact, if even he is in such a mess, even if several other people are at the same time, it is estimated that he is also in a mess. Because this girl is a monster. However, with so many people watching at this time, if he bowed his head to admit defeat first, wouldn't he be ashamed to go to his hometown? What's more, this challenge was initiated by him, or in the name of Huangshu College of the Kingdom of An. If you lose, when you return home, Cloud Dance heard, I think it's funny. Although she doesn't know how to challenge the rules, if others join in the duel, it's a violation of the rules, which she knows very well. At this time, the fat man even moved out to threaten her, which shows how frightened he was. Is it? Yunwoo glanced at the fat man with a pitiful sneer. Her eyes made the fat man feel uncomfortable, as if she was laughing at him, ridiculing him, and belittling him. When the fat man is angry, the corner of his eye suddenly sweeps the dragon. Ha ha, of course. No matter how the men in Huangshu College of Kingdom are, they don't seem to be as cowardly as the man behind you. They only know how to hide behind you, little girl, and seek protection. Fat man seems to find a stepping stone like, immediately turn the topic. What a loser. Cloud Dance picks eyebrow, looking at the fat man who thinks that he can find stepping stone. The corner of his mouth starts a touch of irony, cold way. Do you really think the men of your kingdom can be compared with him? Well, such an ugly waste, even the lowest slave in the kingdom of Ann is better than him. So he is not qualified to be compared with us. Although the fat man's words were not clear, they were full of irony. Of course, he managed to find something that could save his face. How could he not climb up the pole? But that's how some people's stupidity comes about. I think that I have found something that can counterattack her, but I never thought that a man who can follow her is really like what he called trash. People who did not even think of this basic thinking are doomed to a tragic road. You think he's ugly? Cloud Dance stares at him. Light smile asks away. The fat man seemed to laugh at him. It's so ugly that it's disgusting. You say it's not ugly, ha. Mockery and laughter have not yet fallen, but have been replaced by a cry. The fat man's feet seem to have been abandoned, and he knelt on the ground with a crack. In that case, I'll give you a face like that, so that you can try how it tastes. What? The fat man looked up to the clouds. Yunwoo's face is still smiling, but her whole aura has a strange change at that moment, which makes people around feel oppressed. Even the fat man's companions on the other side were not very good. They looked at the Cloud Dance in surprise and fear. Liuzi and Yunqi have never talked. It's a challenge. They don't have to do it. What's more, the fat man just insulted the Samurai Academy, which also caused Liuzi's dissatisfaction. It's just, what does she mean by that? Poof! All of a sudden, a flame suddenly jumped out of the palm of Cloud Dancing's hand. The temperature in the air rose almost instantly. Cloud Dance and the fire element vacate when, and did not give what person reaction come over. Hands so lightly toward that startled stare big eye fat man face to brush. Ah! The roar of the general miserable scream, accompanied by a group of surging flames set off. This scene shocked everyone including several companions of the fat man. Almost all of them were stiff at that moment. Flame? Is that real fire? Fire? How could she use the real flame in her body? The real flame produced in one's own body is totally different from the flame controlled by fire attribute. This girl is manipulating the fire element. The only thing that can control the fire element is summoner. Is this young girl a summoner? The color of shock spread to almost everyone present, including the willow. Ah! Until that sad cry gradually become hoarse. Cloud Dance is very casual, a general brush. The fat man wrapped in the flame also disappeared. The smell of burnt barbecue diffused all around in that instant. The fat man fell down and curled up together, and his clothes were still intact, but his face, which was beaten like a pig's head, was directly melted by the fire, which made him sick, black, and bloody. Suck. The sound of pouring air seemed to ring out in the crowd around. Fat man's companion, when he saw the fat man's face, seemed to be frightened and subconsciously stepped back. Looking up at the eyes of the Cloud Dance, it is the color of horror. They may have been wrong in the beginning. What is wrong is that you should not provoke the girl in front of you. The fat man on the ground was in great pain. Only his normal eyes were staring at the clouds. It's like anger, shame, fear, unwillingness. Unfortunately, his emotions also affected Yunwoo at all. Cloud Dance that face, from the beginning to the end, are maintaining so cold smile. Lo Mao glanced at the fat man on the ground. Forgot to tell you one thing, he is my man. Her man? This sentence seems to make people dumbfounded. My man, if anyone dares to chew his tongue, I will make him regret coming to this world. So, enjoy the experience. Yunwoo's words were not loud, but they were enough for the whole street to hear clearly. After that, the whole street was silent again. One by one, his face turned white, and his heart suddenly got scared. Because, just in the restaurant, almost half of the people present have spoken out and even talked loudly. She's not going to pay for it, is she? Cloud Dance finished saying, slightly lift mouth to sweep an eye all around. In her eyes down, the crowd cannot help but shrink. The face cannot help but whitewash. A fart did not dare to voice. Long Qingxia looks at the woman who is domineering. Her eyes pass by, and the smile at the corner of her mouth deepens. This little woman really made him want to rub into the blood and bone. At this time, the shopkeeper seemed to react quickly from that situation. Almost his feet trembled, and then he stepped forward and announced, "The girl of Samurai Academy win." After the announcement of the shopkeeper, at the beginning, the onlookers were in high spirits. At this time, they all seemed to be having a rest. However, the sight is a respect and fear to look at the cloud. This girl is the summoner. Summoner. Who dares say what? Who dares to make noise? Little thing, you are so domineering that you make me want to rely on you and be a little man. As Long Qingxia came forward, he put his hand around her waist. At the same time, the low magnetic voice sounded softly in her ear. The heat was blowing, which was extremely provocative. Is it rare for him to lean on her? But I've never seen him be a little man. Even if he often leans on her lazily, it's a dormant fox. He's always waiting for the opportunity to show his most crafty nature. Just him, little man. Cloud Dance glanced at him and said, "Just you're a little man. Come on." Dragon Qing evil smell speech. The corner of the mouth smile deepened a few minutes, but the arm in her waist, but quietly pinch her waist. You little thing, don't you know that as long as you want to be a big woman, I'm willing to be a little man for you? A little guy who doesn't understand the customs. Said, again toward her that small, wild waist lifted to lift. Cloud Dance can't help but heartbeat to quicken for a while. Stretched out a hand to hold that big hand in her waist, didn't have good spirit of pinch back. However, for his words, it is a little sad. This man can really more and more understand women's mind. So sensational words really grasp her careful thinking. Although she is not a big woman, she is also a new generation of women in the 21st century. For men and women's point of view, she still maintains a relatively independent point of view. Even if in love, she may not be able to be a little woman. He said so, but let her some heart. Girl, are you okay? Just then, Yunqi's voice came. Cloud Dance turned to look at the past, a faint smile. Nothing, but today's lunch may not be able to eat. If you can't eat, you can't eat. Yes, don't eat outside. There are too many people. Let's go back to the canteen of the college. Liuzi said anxiously. For Cloud Dance, he has too much curiosity and excitement. Summoner. The girl in front of her may be a summoner, and the news just came out some time ago that there was a multi-department summoner on the border of Longzuguo. And this girl has 5 attributes, which means she is the summoner of the 5 departments. Thinking about this, Liuzi can't help wondering whether she is the powerful girl summoner who appeared on the border of Longzuguo some time ago. Whether it was or not, he had to take her back to the college. Summoner's identity is too precious, too rare. Under the watchful eyes of the people, is now making such a big noise that it will not be spying on the eyes of other countries. Although this girl is a member of the Cloud family, there are always accidents. Let's go. Yunwu didn't say anything to Longqingxi, so he followed them behind and prepared to leave. All around the crowd, see this nature quickly back. It's just that. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qing Evil just walked a few steps. Behind him came the fat man's companion, trembling voice like opening. This matter, we Huangshu College will not just let it go. If you have courage, you will leave your name. However, as soon as the words fell, the strong breath of Liuzi, who was walking in front of him, came to the cage. I haven't settled with you for insulting our Shenwang Samurai Academy. You'd better make a cruel remark first. Go back and tell your dean that future students of Huangshu Academy will be banned from entering Lingxing. Get out of Lingxing immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for inviting guards out of the academy. Will take you out." In his majestic voice, he spread anger. The words instantly changed the faces of those people, including the fat man on the ground. Liuzi, Yunqi, Yunwu, and Longqingxi were walking out. The onlookers immediately backed out of the way. With a trace of respect and surprise, I watched Liuzi, Yunwu, and others. The news of the duel at the gate of Jushin building soon spread all over Lingxing. At this time, in the box of an elegant and quiet restaurant on the other side, the man who is having lunch is extremely elegant and noble. Cluck! There was a knock at the door. Then, he saw a figure coming in quietly and said respectfully to the man who had dinner, "Your Highness, news just came that there was a duel at the gate of Jushin building in the north of the city, and one of the girls seemed to be a summoner." As soon as the words of the man in black fell, Zhou Feiyu's hand with chopsticks seemed to stop. But that's all. After a while, Zhou Feiyu continued to eat the dishes gracefully, and then said, "Bring the people who have the news." Yes, not long after the figure in black retreated, another figure came in. "Your Highness, it's done," Wu Han respectfully said to Zhou Feiyu, who was full of noble air. Zhou Feiyu then put down his chopsticks and glanced up at Wu Han. "Please accompany me to the north of the city." 5 Cold 1 Long, however, but quickly respectfully nodded. "Good." However, just then, there was another knock at the door. "Come in." As soon as the sound of 5 Colds fell and the door opened, the man in black came in with a pale middle-aged woman. As soon as the hands in black were released, the middle-aged woman's feet were soft and she sat on the ground. "Uncle, I'm just an ignorant woman who buys vegetables in the market. I haven't done anything wrong. Did you catch the wrong person?" The middle-aged woman looked up at the master Zhou Feiyu and said with trembling, "She is really innocent." A good vegetable vendor suddenly appeared, a man in black, and dragged her into this expensive restaurant in public. The middle-aged woman's face changed and her legs trembled. Wu Han looked at the middle-aged woman who was dragged in, and the bottom of her wise eyes was also a flash of doubt. Zhou Feiyu raised his eyes and looked at the middle-aged woman. "It's said that you are the one who sent the news that there is a summoner in the north of the city?" There seemed to be a sense of authority in his low voice. The middle-aged woman moved back a little bit, but quickly shook her head. "No, it's not me, it's me. I also heard others say." Zhou Feiyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Seeing this, the middle-aged woman worried that he didn't believe it and quickly said, "It's true. It's just a short time ago. I heard it from a guest who just came from Jushin building in the north of the city. Moreover, the news is not only heard by me. Now I'm afraid most people in Lingxing know it. If you don't believe it, you can ask someone in the street." It seems that the woman did not lie and could not ask anything. Finally, Zhou Feiyu waved his hand and let the man in black take the middle-aged woman out. "Your Highness, do you think that the summoner among the middle-aged women is the woofing girl?" Wu Han looked at Zhou Feiyu and asked in a low voice. Some time ago, news came from the border of Longzuguo that a powerful girl summoner named Zitong was born. At that time, in the name of Long Xiao, Zhou Feiyu, who was far away from the other border town, clearly got the reason to return to the imperial city. However, on the way back to the imperial city, after hearing the news, he directly turned to the border of Longzuguo. Although there was no trace of the girl summoner after all, for more than a month, Zhou Feiyu refused to leave, but stayed in the border area. Although Zhou Feiyu was also in this period of time, by the way, he was trying to win over the forces of this border town. But how can Wu Han not know that he has followed His Highness's mind for more than 10 years? Is that woman named Woofing really so important to Your Highness? It's so important that even the important matter of going back to the imperial city to seize power can be delayed and ignored again and again. As soon as Wu Han asked, Zhou Feiyu stood up from his chair. His eyes were not in much mood, but his voice was low. "Don't ask too much, just do your own thing." With that, Zhou Feiyu turned and left the wing room. 5 Cold looking at that figure. In the heart suddenly quietly rose a kind of not very good premonition. Your Highness, is it true that Jushin building in the north of the city? After the duel not long ago, the restaurant was still full of friends. However, it seems that all the people in the room have no appetite to eat, and they are all talking feverishly about the shocking duel just now. You say, what is the origin of that girl? It's not small to be able to appear in the Samurai Academy. What's more, it's not easy for the tutor to bring him to dinner. That's right. The fat man just now really didn't know his face. He spoke so badly that he offended the girl and suffered. As soon as the man's words fell, many people around him suddenly quieted down. It is obvious that those who stopped talking must be the same people who didn't know their faces not long ago. But in the end, there are many people who are embarrassed to change the topic. Don't mention the fat man. How unlucky. That's right. However, not long ago, it came out that there were summoners on the border of Longshu Kingdom. Now we also have summoners in the Zhou Dynasty, and they are also students of Shenhuang Samurai Academy. It's really exciting. Yes, the students of Shenhuang Samurai Academy represent our Zhou Dynasty. In the future, people of our Zhou Dynasty can walk around with a certain air. Yes, as people of the Zhou Dynasty, we have so much face. There seems to be no taboo in the loud voice of discussion, which is called a frank and happy. When Zhou Feiyu and Wu Han stepped into the Jushin building, they heard that kind of bold talk. The second younger brother is pouring tea up and down, and the shopkeeper standing in front of the counter immediately smiles when he sees the two men with extraordinary temperament. Gentlemen, are you here for dinner? I'm really sorry, but there may not be any seats yet. Why don't you wait for a moment, and I'll let the sophomore go? However, before the shopkeeper finished, an ingot of gold was thrown to the counter. The shopkeeper's eyes brightened when he saw it. We are not here for dinner, or we want to ask the shopkeeper something. 5 cold, gentle mouth. One thing? The shopkeeper was stunned, but it was the merchant who responded immediately, nodded respectfully with a smile. I don't know. What do you want to ask, young master? As long as the little one knows everything and says everything. Hearing the manager's sharp tongue, Zhou Feiyu slightly frowned and glanced at the manager's face. However, he still asked, I heard that a duel just happened here? Yes, it's just around a stick of incense. One of the girls is the summoner. I'm not sure if it's small, because the girl didn't show that she was a summoner, and didn't see that she was wearing a contract ring, but she could control the fire element. The shopkeeper's very clever answer. Zhou Feiyu glanced at him. What's the girl's name? What kind of looks? Young master, it's a small question for you. The girl didn't disclose her name from beginning to end. Even before she left, she was provoked by the opponent. As for her appearance, it's very common. It's nothing special, but she looks a little pale. Ordinary? What color are the eyes? Black. Hearing this, Zhou Feiyu's face finally sank. The shopkeeper was also a sharp-eyed person, and immediately added, although the girl is very mysterious, I don't know what she came from, but she is a new student of Shenhuang Samurai College. If you want to find the girl, you might as well go to Shenhuang Samurai College. Are you sure you didn't lie? Zhou Feiyu squinted at the shopkeeper. That look in the eyes let the shopkeeper can't help but heart-dark shiver for a while. No, sir. If you don't believe me, you can ask my guests. At this time, the guests at several tables who had noticed the situation at the front desk for a long time began to echo the manager's words. That girl is really from the Samurai Academy. She is wearing the uniform of the Samurai Academy. That's right, and it was brought by the director of Shenhuang Samurai Academy. We all saw it with our own eyes, and we can't make a fake. That's right. People have just left. Your Highness, why don't you go to the college and see if you can catch up? At this time, Wu Han asked Zhou Feiyu in a low voice. I'll go myself. As soon as Zhou Feiyu's voice dropped, he turned around and left the restaurant neatly. 5 cold quickly followed forward. After the shopkeeper looked at them and left, he turned and collected the ingot of gold. He yelled at the little second brother happily. Xiao, at noon today, a plate of signature dish will be given to each table for free. It's my treat. Good. On the other side, however, after Yunwu and others leave, Yunlingji enters the Educational Administration building and comes to the dean's office of the college. When you enter the room and see Chiemo, Yunlingyi is obviously stunned. It seems unexpected that the dean of this college is so young. Are you the father of Yunwoo? Come and sit down. Chiemo looks at the cloud Coldy that pushes the door and enters, after the eye looked at one eye, then called him to the side rest seat to sit. After Yunlingyi sits down, Chiemo goes over with a cup of tea and puts it on the table in front of him. Have some tea. Thank you. Yunlingyi is quite polite. Chiemo sat to his opposite seat, just a gentle smile of self-introduction. My name is Chiemo, is the dean of this college? However, without waiting for Yunlingyi to speak, Chiemo then said, General Yun should be busy with military affairs. How did he come to Lingsheng? Cloud Cold Elong for a while. He always can't answer to say. At the beginning, is his father just let him follow. Now, however, he felt that it was good that he came out. When my daughter enters the college, I'll stop by and have a look. This answer seems to make Chiemo smile inexplicably. I can't see that General Yun is very kind. This daughter came to send her to the college by herself. However, I heard that Yunwoo ranked 9th in the Cloud family. Since childhood, she has been a diseased seedling with zero talent. It seems that she has not been very popular at home since childhood. Smell speech, Cloud Cold eyebrow slightly see you once. Yunwoo is a waste of Miss 9. Almost all the people in the Zhou dynasty know it. If someone asked him that before, he would not hesitate to answer, but now it makes Yunlingyi feel embarrassed and depressed. The strength of Cloud Dance is absolutely unexpected to him. But human nature is like that. When it's a waste, it doesn't look good. However, when one day you find that the waste in your mind has already surpassed yourself, or even higher, it will raise a sense of regret, surprise, and joy even sometimes, because Cloud Dance is his daughter, and rise a kind of incomparable pride. I don't know, Dean. What do you mean by that? Cloud Coldy raises mouth to see to that. Chiemo said with a gentle smile. It's nothing. I just feel that I have a lot to do with that girl. Moreover, I just found out that I still know Yunwoo's mother. Said Chiemo, that pair of inexplicable deep eyes, tightly staring at Cloud Cold E. Not surprisingly, after hearing the words, Yunlingyi's eyes suddenly passed an undercurrent. Then, like a wave of anger from the bottom of the eye. Are you old acquaintances with her? Some gritted their teeth and asked angrily. Chiemo nodded. Yes, I should say I knew her long before you. Yunlingyi suddenly sank, clenched her fists and stared at Chiemo. Is her disappearance related to you? At that time, he was on the march to fight. When he got home, almost all the people in Yunfu said that Huang Yingying left with a man. Because of the problem of face, he banned the rumors spread by all the people in the house, and even said that she was dead. Over the years, the reason why he has been so indifferent to Yunwoo is that it accounts for most of the reasons. He is a man who can stand everything, but what he can't stand is the betrayal of his beloved woman eloping with another man. Looking at Cloud Coldy, that kind of reaction, Chiemo finally converged that gentle smile, then changed into an inexplicable cold, eyes sharp and cold. So, as her husband, you don't trust her so much? Think of the woman who has been in his heart. Chiemo, always with gentle disguise of June face, for the first time raised a sense of anger. For she is not worth, but also in jealousy of this man. For what so-called mission, so-called destiny, she refused him and chose such a man. Originally, Chiemo thought, that would be a what kind of man, did not expect to be such a bastard man. When Yunlingyi heard the words, his heart suddenly tightened, as if he had been touched by someone for a long time, and his mood was uncontrollable. That's between me and her. If there's nothing wrong with the dean, I'll go first. The wound has been buried for more than 10 years. I thought I didn't care, and even forgot. It can be found only when it is touched. It turned out that all the pain, such as that year, also came strong, like scale, a touch of pain. You can go, but before you go, I need to tell you that since you choose not to believe her, keep your mood. Say, Chi-mo hand avoid to brush past. Separate empty to open the door of the office. Signal that Yunlungi can leave. What does he mean by that? When Yunlungi heard his words, his face suddenly became a little chilly. What is keeping that mood? What does he want to say? Can be very obvious at this time of Chi-mo, and did not prepare to talk with him. Cloud Cold looked at that Chi-mo and finally turned to leave. Maybe, as he said, he really lacks trust in Huang Yingying. However, what happened in those days was so complicated that even he is a little confused now. When Yunlungi leaves the Educational Administration building and is ready to go out of the college to find them, he sees them returning. Dad, why are you back? Don't you mean to go to dinner? Don't mention it. Let's go to the canteen. Yunqi also expressed some helplessness about what happened in Juxian building. However, Yunqi's words fell, but Yunlungi said, Dad, since Xiaowu has been determined to enter the internal college, let's go back? Go back? As soon as Yunlungi's words fall, Yunqi and Yunwu can't help looking up at him. What's the rush? It's still early. What's your hurry? Yunqi said. After looking at Yunwu, Yunlungi can't hide the complicated streamer at the bottom of his eyes, so he has to move his eyes and look at Yunqi. It's been more than a month since I came out. I still have a lot of military affairs to deal with. Dad, if you still want to play here, you'll stay a few more days, and I'll go back to deal with them first. With that, Yunlungi passed them and left for the gate of the college. Yunqi looks at his back and frowns. How can he see that he is not right? Girl, originally my grandfather wanted to accompany you, but your father seems to be very busy, so we'll go back first. If anything happens, please let us know. After I go back, I'll send some people here to guard. Well, I see. Go back. Cloud Dance nods to smile away. In fact, it is impossible for Yunwu not to notice the wrong look in Yunlungi's eyes. But he went to see the dean. What did the dean say to him? It didn't take long, just like trying to escape from here. Yunwu looks at Yunqi waving his hand and chases her back. He really feels confused. At this time, Liuzi grinned at the cloud. That girl, how about the three of us go to the canteen to have something to eat? It's on me. Yunwu took back her sight, raised her eyes, looked at Liuzi with a very kind smile on her face, and said with a smile, Director, if you have something to do, just go to work. We're not hungry. I want to go shopping. Liuzi wanted to say something, but he didn't insist on it in the end. His most urgent mood now is to go straight to the Educational Administration building and tell the dean that the girl of the Cloud family is a summoner, which is the most important thing. At this time, the two figures appeared at the gate of Shenwang Samurai Academy. This is Shenwang Samurai Academy. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. If you are a student, please show your badge. Without waiting for Zhou Feiyu to approach Wu Han, he was stopped by the 6 guards of the college. I want to find someone. Zhou Feiyu's sharp eyes glanced at the guard who blocked his way. The leading bodyguard shivered, but he said with a serious face, Who are you looking for? If you want to find someone, show your identity and check in. For these official bodyguards, Zhou Feiyu's eyes sank, but he still turned his head and gave a look to the 5 colds behind him. 5 cold understand, then turn around, go to the other side of the gate of the registration office. When Wu Han turned back, another bodyguard came back, muttering in the ear of the leading bodyguard. It turned out to be the 7 princes. I don't know. The 7 princes came to Shenwang Samurai Academy this time, and they wanted to find someone to come to? The leading bodyguard took a look at Zhou Feiyu and asked seriously. Shenwang Samurai College has strict rules. Generally, in this college, noble status is another thing, and special treatment is another thing. I want to see the director. Tutor director? The leading bodyguard was stunned. The director just went in. However, he nodded quickly. Please wait a moment. I'll have someone tell me. The leading bodyguard said that, and then he gave a look to one of the bodyguards behind him. Soon, the bodyguard went to the college. However, at this time, a figure came out of the college. General Yunda? Yunlungi? When Wu Han saw the man who came out, his eyebrows suddenly picked. Zhou Feiyu also raised his eyes to see the past. At this time, Yunlungi seems to have noticed the existence of Zhou Feiyu. He pauses for a while and then walks towards him. 7 princes. Cloud cold a respectfully arched hand to respect to shout. Why are you here? For Zhou Feiyu's inquiry, Yunlingyi simply replied, Back to your highness, a few days ago was the day my little daughter entered the college. My father and I just had time, so we came to have a look. Little daughter? Zhou Feiyu's sharp eyes look at Yunlingyi. Is it the father's wedding to the ninth lady of the Dragon 3? I remember. Didn't she get sick from childhood? How did you get into the King Warrior Academy? Cloud cold smell speech. Can't help but eyebrow see you once. I don't know why. I didn't feel anything before, but now I feel harsh and uncomfortable. What waste is sick? Who is chewing the tongue of my 9 girls? At this time, a loud voice came from the college. Then Yunqi came out. When he saw that week's non-feather, Yunqi obviously frowned. After a pause, he stepped forward and said, It turned out to be the 7th prince. I thought who was chewing his tongue here. However, the 7th prince is not in the northern border town. How did he come to Lingxing in the south? Yunqi? Is the old master of the Cloud family here? When Zhou Feiyu saw Yunqi, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he said gently, Is Mr. Yun here to send Miss Nine to the college? Yunqi looked at Zhou Feiyu. Well, the old man is idle at home. When he comes to see off 9 girls, he also comes to see his old friend. I don't know who the 7 princes are looking for when they come to the King Warrior Academy. It's nothing. I just want to find a tutor and ask what conditions I need to enter the college halfway. Into college? 7 princes, do you want to enter this college? Well, why not? He is an old man. Why not? It's just strange. Although these 7 princes have been in the border city of the battlefield all the year round, he is not too old to be ignorant. The 7th prince is a concubine prince who can only assist the prince because of his low status as a mother. However, when he was young, he entered the army with his own strength and played his own forces. He was also honored as the first youngest regent. Although the queen has blocked him, he will return to the imperial city sooner or later. What's more, a month ago, he heard that the 7 princes had a lot to do with Long Shao, and he was going back to the imperial city under the name of Long Shao. How did you show up in Lingxing today? You want to go to college? However, since Yun Qi is an old man, he will not go to break this doubt. It's a good thing for the 7 princes to enter the college. Naturally, there's nothing we can't do. We're just about to return to the imperial city. Do you have any message for the 7 princes that I need to take to your majesty? No, I'll send someone to take the message myself. Zhou Feiyu said calmly. Yun Qi nodded. Well, if there's nothing wrong, then we won't disturb the 7 princes. With that, Yun Qi and Yunlingyi arch their hands at Zhou Feiyu and leave. Until watching them disappear in the street, Wu Han took back his sight and said respectfully, Your Highness, the 2 heads of the Cloud family have come to the Samurai Academy. I'm afraid it's not as simple as sending that trash to the academy. Do you want to investigate? A sick waste, let Cloud Home 2 top beam column descend. How to say, this reason is too exaggerated and far-fetched. Zhou Feiyu's eyes were a little deep, and the corners of his mouth were cold. They naturally have their reasons, but as long as they don't hinder the way of the king, they don't need to pay attention to it for the moment. Yes, 5 cold smell speech, also not should weigh. But in the heart also more certain, this highness is really 1 heart for looking for that 5 phoenix girl but come. Alas, hope that at that time, don't really be a beauty disaster. After waiting for a long time, I finally saw Liuzi come out of the college. The next day, in the early morning, at the end of the night, Yang came knocking on the door again. After a night's cloud dance, I sorted it out and opened the door for her. What's the matter? I'm afraid you won't see me in the past 3 years when you enter NEI college today, so I'll see you off. At the end of the night, Yang came in and said at the same time, I do not know where to take out a burden, change hands, put in the hands of Cloud Dance. This is some equipment that I bought outside with the money I won. It seems that I need some equipment after entering the inner college. But the inner college is very mysterious. I don't know all about it, but you can take it. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Equipment? Cloud danced looking at the hand of that burden. Can't help but lift eyes to see the eye in front of fat call of Night End Central. Don't look at me like this. I'll be embarrassed. We are friends. There's only so much I can prepare for you. Don't be too shabby. At the end of the night, Yang said with a grin. In fact, Yunwoo has never admitted their friendship from beginning to end, but she is not the one who can't feel it. Thank you, don't mention it. Let's go. I'll invite you to the canteen to have a good meal before you enter the college. At the end of the night, Yang said, like an acute child, pulling Cloud Dance out of the dormitory. College canteen. When Yunwoo and Yamoying appeared, because it was still early, there were few people in the canteen. However, because of the strength of Cloud Dance on the field, at this time, people in and out of the whole foreign college, seeing Cloud Dance is like seeing a goddess. Even if only a few people, the line of sight is sweeping, passionate, and excited. Even the aunts and uncles in the canteen, seeing Yunwoo, today they give half a spoonful of the dishes they usually give. At the end of the night, Yang Xian was so happy that he ordered a lot of things at one go. It was only under the fierce sight of those aunts and uncles that it was enough. You can eat so much? Cloud Dance looked at the full table hill like food, forehead black line straight down. At the end of the night, Yang grinned and pushed several dishes in front of her. Although the food in the canteen doesn't taste very good, it's very good for your health. I found out these 2 days. These are all for you. You can eat more to make up your body. Benefits? Yunwoo looks at the green vegetables in front of her. It seems that there are fried meat dishes. It looks like some ordinary vegetables and fried meat dishes. At this time, the voice of Bai Lao came to my mind. In order to strengthen the student's physique, these dishes are all made of high-quality Warcraft meat and some effective dishes with special methods. They contain a lot of energy. If they are eaten for a long time, they are really good for people's health. Advanced Warcraft meat? Is it Warcraft above level 6? Cloud Dance can't help but pass a trace of surprise in the heart. You know, the whole mainland of China, 9-level Warcraft are almost rare. 6-level Warcraft is very precious. This random count, the whole college at least 2,000 or 3,000 people. How could this college use the advanced Warcraft meat above level 6 to cook? Do you want to use effective dishes? But I want to know how luxurious it is. Yunwoo, don't be stunned. Eat more while it's hot. At the end of the night, Yang hurriedly put a lot of money in the Cloud Dance bowl, urging the way. In the end, Yunwoo ate a lot. After eating for a long time, I can't help feeling quite novel when I feel the warm current in my stomach flowing towards the surrounding muscles and veins. Although, at this time, the energy provided by these things did not have much effect on her. At the end of the night, after Yunwoo couldn't eat it, Yang took all the rest, which also made Yunwoo understand how her figure came from. There are more and more people in the canteen. At the end of the night, Yunwoo and Yang are preparing to leave, but there is a tall figure in front of the canteen. When he saw the figure, Yunwoo could not help but pause. Zhou Feiyu? Why is he in this college? However, when Zhou Feiyu's eyes swept to her, he moved away faintly and obviously didn't recognize her. 7 princes, this is the canteen. I'll call you what you want to eat. One side of the female students, admiring looking at the wearing school uniform, also cannot cover up his handsome and heroic Zhou Feiyu. Some koi like to ask. Around to see that weak non-feather girls are also some of the fanatic. This man, however, is the triple representative of identity, strength, and handsome appearance. As long as you are a normal woman, you can't help but want to throw yourself in your arms. I heard that he was a freshman who joined the class yesterday afternoon. Today's 7 princes, whose strength has reached the peak of the 8th level, were recruited by the director of the tutor as an exception. At the end of the night, Yang saw Zhou Feiyu coming in and whispered in Cloud Dance's ear. However, Yunwoo didn't respond much after hearing the speech. She knew exactly who he was. Cloud Dance in the light of the recovery of sight, the next step will still leave towards the door. When crossing that week, he didn't even glance. At the end of the night, Yang saw Yunwoo's unshakable attitude and praised it in his heart. It's so cool. Her friends are just like those common people. At the end of the night, Yang followed closely. However, as Yunwu just passed him, Zhou Feiyu almost subconsciously glanced at her. As he approached the canteen, almost all the women in the city locked their eyes on him, and even the boys looked at him. Only that young girl, just a light glance at him, took back her sight, a face indifferent to ignore his departure. Is she trying to attract his attention on purpose? It's certain that Yunwu and Yamoying go out of the door without even looking back. After that, Zhou Feiyu can't help frowning. He turned his head and glanced at a girl student who was flattering and admiring her eyes. Who is she? She? The girl student didn't react at first. She followed the direction he knew before she thought of Yunwu, who had just left. However, without waiting for the female student to answer, other female students were the first to speak. Seven Princes? Do you mean the girl just now? Her name is Yunwu. She is a freshman who just entered the college a few days ago. She's the ninth lady of General Yunda's family. There was a rush of answers. After hearing the speech, Zhou Feiyu was stunned. Cloud Dance? Is she the sick trash of the Cloud family? Although her face was slightly pale, she came steadily and didn't look like a waste at all. Just as Zhou Feiyu frowned and pondered, the female student who had just been rushed to answer suddenly added a sentence, as if she was unwilling to fall behind. In addition, she still stands out from the competition and won the first place in the inner college. This morning, she is going to enter the inner college with the seniors of the inner college. Above the square, when Yunwu and Yamoying came to the square, they saw that Wuxinjiu and the other two students were waiting. There are also some onlookers around. Is that all you have? Wu Xingyu looked at the cloud dance with a small burden and asked. Cloud dance things have always been directly thrown into the space, in the hands of All Night central to her. However, Yunwu still nodded. Wu Xingyu looked at her and frowned, but he didn't say much. Originally intended to come out of the college, is to fight with her, for their little sister back some justice. But when he saw her hand yesterday, he understood it at that time. Don't say 5 minutes, son, even if it's his hand. I'm afraid it won't be her opponent. When the match was cancelled yesterday afternoon, to be honest, he was really relieved. Otherwise, the senior student of grade 6 who came out of the inner college was defeated by a freshman who just entered the college. I'm afraid he would not have the face to go back to the inner college. However, owing to their fifth-generation family, it's impossible to just forget it. Anyway, after entering the inner college, there are still opportunities. After taking back the line of sight from Yunwu, Wuxinjiu didn't hesitate. He turned his head and gave a look to his younger brother. I saw the male student on his right, and I didn't know where to get a piece of whistle, put it on my mouth and blow it. Shio! A sharp whistle broke through the air. A few breathing rooms. Yunwu was surprised to see that the transparent isolation above the college was opened. Haw! A distant and close call of birds and animals also followed. Is the transparent isolation that envelopes the air controlled by that whistle? Cloud Dance line of sight can't help but quietly toward the male student in the hands of the whistle swept a glance. Eyes swept a trace of undercurrent, mouth micro outline raised. Not for a while. See a huge lion carving, hovering down from the sky. When the students around saw the lion carving, they all exclaimed and sighed, and opened their eager eyes. When will they be able to sit on the mighty lion carving and fly to the mysterious inner college? Many people are envious, but cannot help some jealousy, swept in the cloud body. Just after the lion eagle landed, Wu Xingyu and the two students of inner college jumped and stood on the back of the beast. The three occupied more than half of the position, leaving only a little space behind the tail of the carving beast. Come up. Wu Xingyu looked down at the clouds and whispered. The cloud dances to smell speech and glances at that 5-star space. How can you not know for his careful thinking? However, it is still a tiptoe at the foot, the body shape suddenly sensitive jump on the back of the carving beast. Cloud Dance, be careful and pay attention to safety. In 3 years, I will definitely go to the inner college to find you. At this time at the end of the night, Chaoyun Dance shouts. Cloud Dance looked at her and gave her a smile. Maybe it seems good to have such a friend. At the end of the night, Yang seemed to understand her meaning and immediately waved to her with a happy grin. Wu Xingyu didn't feel much about their friendship. After confirming that Yunwu had already stood up, he went to the front to learn the way of controlling the beast. It's too late to start. Let's start quickly, so as not to make the elder angry when it's too late to go back. As soon as the words of the 5 stars came down, the younger brother of the animal master understood them tacitly. He grabbed the iron rope around the neck of the carving animal, and a whistle came out. Whistling together, the beast was immediately ordered. Haw! At the moment when the sound of birds and animals broke through the air, the huge wings of the lion carving beast opened and flapped, and the huge wind surged up, and the bird body also soared in the air. If you don't get ready to stand early in the morning, I'm afraid you will be impacted directly on your back. When the carving beast soars into the air and calms down in midair, Wu Xingyu and the other 2 students turned their heads and looked at the back of the carving beast. When they saw that there was no cloud dancing behind them, the corners of their mouths rose and a smile flashed in their eyes. What? Looking for me, a calm voice suddenly came from their ears. 3 people were stunned. Immediately, the 3 people heard a turn back. When they saw the cloud dance sitting on the top of the carving beast, a look of amazement passed in their eyes. She, how is that possible? Not only did she not fall miserably as they predicted, but she also sat on the top of the carving beast's head. Cloud Dance looked at the 3 people in amazement and drew a smile from the corner of his mouth. However, the smile was extremely penetrating. The 3 people who met her almost couldn't help shivering. Do you like to play exciting games? Since you like to play, you can do well. I'll take you to play something really exciting. What? Wu Xingyu was stunned. But at that time, Yunwu's body sitting on the top of the carving beast suddenly stood up. And just as she stood up, the huge body of the beast suddenly shook. Haw! All of a sudden, a sad birdsong broke the air. At that moment, the statue was completely out of control. It whirled and went straight down. 5-star space. 3 people react to come over at the moment. The facial expression violently a change. The shrieking voice of that moment, almost out of the instinct of a dead to grasp the carving beast that iron rope. Haw! The cry of the beast broke through the air raid. In the square, the onlookers, who were watching the high-altitude leaving carved animals, were just ready to leave and went back to their classes. However, I suddenly heard something coming from the high altitude. Look up one by one. When I saw the huge animals falling down with great speed, they were stunned at first. Then their faces changed, and they quickly brushed away. Bang! A loud noise, accompanied by dust in the open square raised. But this is not the end, and just after the strong shock of the collision, what stimulation did the statue get? It raised its head and roared. In a twinkling, the huge beast followed the whoosh and soared in the air. In midair, it spins and falls down again. Up and down after going back and forth for several times. It seemed that everything calmed down after the beast finally broke down. And the 5-star you and others who are dragging the iron lock behind the carving beast, their hair and clothes have been messy. At this time, his voice was hoarse, his stomach was upset, and his face was white. As if again, almost can't help but want to loosen the hand of life-saving iron rope, let such as fall to the ground. Cloud Dance at this time just slowly sat on the top of the carving beast's head, eyes slightly narrowed like Soul. Hook lips glanced at the embarrassed 3 people on the carving beast's back. How are you 3? Did you have a good time? Happy? It almost killed them. Are you happy? However, this time, the 3 really realized the horror of the girl. She is not only terrifying in strength, but also terrifying in revenge. She is a pervert. It seems that you are quite satisfied. That's good. Now those who know the way will show us the way. I will let us rush back to the inner college before your elder is not angry. At the end of the speech, Yunwu patted the head of the carving beast lightly. The carving beast, who had just been thrown several times and had almost stopped cooking, was like beating chicken blood again. He raised his head and roared. He rotated and tilted in the air. His wings flapped fiercely and soared at a high speed. Just relax a few seconds of 3 people, face again a change. Dead to grab the iron rope was not thrown out. When the powerful romantic impact came, the three people almost didn't make rude remarks. This damned perverted woman. However, Yunwoo didn't know it was. The scene just happened in the air, from the beginning to the end, was attracted by the deep sight on the side path of the square below, including just when she jumped on the back of the beast. Zhou Feiyu raised his eyes and looked at the direction where the carving beast left. He looked at the sunken ground where the square had been thrown several times by the carving beast. The flowing light of the fundus is getting deeper and deeper. So much. Although the appearance of Yunwoo was totally different from the little woman in his memory, the way he acted was very similar. How many women in this world can be so arrogant and sharp? Could it be her? Will it be? This question has been lingering in his heart. But the more I think about it, it seems that both of them begin to overlap, as if he can really see her shadow in Yunwoo. Just the cloud dance. He remembered that before he left the Imperial City, he met once. Although she was still young at that time, her bones could never be fake. She was shriveled, thin, morbid, and had no self-cultivation bones at all. Can there really be such a big change in the changes over the years? But if this cloud dance is not her, that cloud dance, but also absolutely not simple. It seems that whether Yunwoo is the little woman in his heart or not, it is necessary for him to enter the inner college. After breaking the air, it was the vast white clouds. In order to enter the inner academy, you really need to cross the steep mountain behind the Shenwang Samurai Academy. How high is it? Yunwoo didn't make an estimate. Anyway, it took a long time for the carving beast to soar up, and finally he saw the top of the mountain as if he could not bear it. It's a mountain peak filled with white clouds. From a distance, you can hardly see clearly. After approaching, I found that there are sharp stone tips on the cliffs, which seem to be made of nature. No flying animals are allowed to land on the top of the mountain. If you want to enter the college, you have to jump from here. The student who just controlled the carving beast looked at Yunwoo and pointed to a small space below. Yunwoo is not in a hurry to see this. That is to say, the eyebrow picker winked at the student, who opened his mouth and motioned him to jump first. Seeing this, the student clenched his teeth secretly. Shit. So careful. However, the student turned his head and looked at another student and Wu Xingyu. Then he released the iron rope and jumped down to the open space. Then another student and Wu Xingyu jumped down. Yunwoo stood on the top of the carving beast's head, but he was not in a hurry to jump down. Instead, he scanned the surrounding area and roughly recorded the whole environmental route of the mountain in his mind, so that he could jump and go straight down. Where is the inner college? After Yunwoo landed, he glanced at the three people who were tidying their clothes and hair. Although the whole mountain is very big, there is no trace of inner college. Therefore, Yunwoo guessed that there was an array around the college, or it was isolated by something. It needed something to open and enter. It's true. It was not long after the cloud dance asked questions that the three people, who had sorted out their manners and images, put on the posture that a senior student should have. Three people went to a quick cover in front of the stone. I do not know where to take out a sign in front of the stone after. The scene immediately began to change. The ground, which used to be covered with sharp stones, gradually disappeared, and a white mist rose when you really see the scene in front of you. Yunwoo can't help but pick an eyebrow. Originally thought, we'll see a majestic college gate or college square or something. But I didn't want to see the colorful flower garden. The fragrance of the flowers has a kind of refreshing comfort. These are medicinal flowers. Unexpectedly, the aura of heaven and earth in this place is so abundant that such a large area of precious edible medicinal flowers can be planted. At this time, Bai Laowei's voice of surprise came from his mind. Edible medicine flower? Are these the food in the canteen of the peripheral college to add this kind of medicine? Cloud Dance's eyes swept away, but also for the endless flower garden, and feel some surprise and ready to move. Since these medicinal flowers can be used for food, if she can get some and throw them into the Chaos Palace, her cold ice jade will come out of the door, and I don't know if she will get twice the result with half the effort. Before, Bai Lao also said that long-term consumption of medicine and food is good for the body. Although, with her current strength, It does not seem to have much effect, but it does not mean that others have no effect. Be prepared for the time when you can finally use it. However, just as Cloud Dance was meditating, Wu Xingyu's voice changed its gentleness and coolness. Don't think about this flower garden. It's the treasure of the senior Chinese pharmacist in the college. If you touch one, he will find it. For those who touch this flower, no matter what genius you are, he will directly leave the inner college as punishment. If you move one, you'll find it? Is that elder pharmacist so divine? However, Yunwu didn't come to be greedy before entering the inner college. Her real goal is to make the garden safe for a while before she gets it. However, at this time, Cloud Dance also raised the corners of her mouth and glanced at the 5 stars. I'm not interested in this herb for the time being, but you 3 didn't take me to the inner college, but brought me here. I believe that elder pharmacist will be more interested in you, said. Cloud Dance slightly bent down and reached out, gently touching the leg-high flower. You say, if I destroy the flower garden in this area, is it a crime of ignorance for a freshman who just entered the college and doesn't know anything? Those who don't know are innocent, but for you 3 old students, will you be directly thrown down from here by what you call pharmacist elder? Cloud Dance in that voice seemed to be very curious to ask away. But the 3 men in Wu Xingyi's face changed dramatically. Damn it, how can they forget the blood lesson they just learned? This woman is a pervert, how dare you? If you just touch it, I'll... However, before they had finished their threatening words, Yunwu's palm turned, and a flame suddenly jumped out of her hand. In a flash, no one was given a chance to react. The flame in her hand came out of her hand, and she was directly infected with the medicinal flower by herself. As soon as he touched the medicinal flower, the fire was ignited like fire oil, and suddenly turned into a big flame, which started to spread around in the flower garden. That's the speed. When Wu Xingyu reacted, the fire all over the sky reddened their faces, but whited their faces. The pupils of the 3 eyes widened, and the anxious horror was clearly visible. Quick firefighting. Wu Xingyu didn't care about any image. He went to the fire as soon as he dodged. When the other 2 students see this, how dare they neglect it? In a hurry, I went straight to the past Cloud Dance, mouth slightly raised. But the line of sight swept around. Mental power also spread out quickly. She wanted to see if the pharmacist elder in their mouth could feel it as soon as he touched the medicinal flower. Take this opportunity to find out the details in advance, which is also convenient to steal the flowers later. However, a little surprise flashed in Yunwu's heart soon. Because, just before her mental strength spread to 100 meters, she suddenly felt the fluctuation of the front position. It won't take a moment. I saw the figure of a gray robe, flashing at a strange speed. She couldn't detect his strength. It seems that it is above her. Wu Zuan? Or higher? The pharmacist elder of a college has such strength. What about other elders? It seems that the inner college is really not simple. When the figure flashed, Yunwu's mental power immediately converged, and his breath converged. Who dares to be presumptuous in my garden and burn my flowers? Under the roar, a strong wind swept by. I saw that the flower garden, which was just on fire, was directly extinguished under the breath, left a burned black ground, with the 3 in a mess of 3 people. 5 stars? Did you set fire to my pharmacy? The elder pharmacist seemed to know the 5 stars, and his white eyebrows began to frown. 5 star, you almost legs a soft, but still quickly shake his head. It's not us, elder. You see, we are fighting a fire. It's the smelly girl who set the fire. Wu Xingyu quickly pointed to Yunwu. The other 2 also nodded and pointed to the Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance didn't explain this, but the line of sight is very calm to meet the road swept over the sharp eyes. It was a middle-aged man with black hair but white eyebrows. He had a strong face and sharp eyes. Listening to the tone he had just opened, he might be an old man with a rather impatient temperament, but a combination of wisdom and sagacity. Yes, it's an old man. Even if he is now a middle-aged man, the special feature of this strange world is that when his strength reaches a certain level, his appearance will begin to recover. At this point, Yunwoo really saw what was going on from the old man in front of her. He should be the strength of the card in a bottleneck, has not yet broken through, leading to such a black hair, white eyebrow look. Of course, Cloud Dance is not a guess, but she just noticed. The skin on the old man's hand was flabby and old when he brushed it. The old man took a look at Yunwoo, especially when he saw that she dared to greet him so calmly. He could not help but raised his eyebrows and opened his mouth. "Girl, did you burn my medicine garden?" Cloud Dance smell speech. Seemed to meditate for a while. Just lift that pair of clear without dirt eyes again. Saw I 5-star you 3 people. Yes, the elders say that if I accidentally touch these medicinal flowers, I'm a genius. The elder pharmacist will throw me down here. They don't take me to the main gate, but come to the elder pharmacist's medicine garden. I think they want to see the scene of my elder you being thrown down. In order to satisfy the elders, I'll do it myself. Lying? No, what she said is really true, and it is almost according to the original statement. However, from her mouth, how all the original taste seems to have changed. 5-star you 3 people smell speech, facial expression don't mention how ugly, a burst of gnashed teeth. Yunwoo, you smelly girl, you. Wu Xingyu is really hard to maintain his image, and he shouts. The other 2 students, too, want to rush forward and beat her. But the elder pharmacist narrowed his sharp eyes and glanced at the 5 stars. Is what she said true? As soon as Wu Xingyu saw the expression of the elder pharmacist, he let out a sound in his heart. This is the rhythm of the elder pharmacist's anger. Naturally, it can't be admitted. They shook their heads almost tacitly. Of course not, elder. You can't just listen to her one-sided words. She, isn't it? Cloud Dance at this time. The sound just interrupted. 5-star you heart bottom anew, lift mouth to stare toward her. But in the second when she looked at each other, a purple light flashed from the bottom of Yunwoo's eyes. But Wu Xingyu's body was stiff in that second, and his eyes were dazed. Senior, are you sure you didn't say that just now? Cloud Dance's voice very indifferent asked A. And her voice was magical. Yes, we did mean to bring you into this medicine garden. We want you to be thrown down by the pharmacist elder. We just don't like you. You. 5-star Yu's eyes were slightly dull, and he opened his mouth to state what he thought. But all of a sudden, the consciousness seems to be relieved. At that moment, the dull eyes faded, but at the same time, a sense of horror suddenly rose in the eyes of Wu Xingyu, staring straight at Yunwoo. You. She knows how to take a soul? How possible? Cloud Dances at this time, shrugged in different way. Pharmacist elder, you also heard. It seems that I haven't entered the college gate. It provoked the elders' dislike. By the elders try to get rid of, then I jumped down by myself. With that, Yunwoo really walked towards the cliff. Looking at their pharmacist elder all the time, there was a color of doubt in his sharp eyes. He couldn't have seen the situation of Wu Xingyu just now. But this wench, how can you understand the soul-taking of Ouyang family's imperial mind skill? Are you from the Ouyang family? At this time, the pharmacist elder's deep voice suddenly came. Yunwoo, who was walking towards the cliff, stopped and didn't look back. No, but I have a negotiation with the Ouyang family. It's an old acquaintance. Smell speech. Pharmacist elder's eyes flickered a trace of inexplicable color. And also at this time, a strong breath suddenly attacked. Directly a whisk hand. The 5-star universe 3 people around directly to throw out. Almost all of them didn't know what was going on, and their bodies were thrown out in a radiant. At this time, the voice of the pharmacist elder came. Well, now there is no one else here. Tell me, how do you know the Ouyang family, and how do you know the Ouyang family's mind control skills? Or are you from the Ouyang family? Cloud Dance smell speech. Eyebrow couldn't help but pick. However, at that time, she turned slowly and looked at the pharmacist elder with a smile. Elder, you are a member of the Ouyang family. It should be very clear that the descendants of the Eurasian family can't practice the art of mind control. As I said, I just had some contact with the Ouyang family. As for the art of mind control, it's also a coincidence. How do you know I'm from the Ouyang family? When the elder pharmacist heard the words, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked at the Cloud Dance coldly. Cloud Dance's slightly young mouth a smile met his that pair of sharp eyes. I don't know if I'm someone else, but I've been in contact with Ouyang family for several times. So I found a secret that may not even be found by you Ouyang family. Secret? The elder pharmacist's brow suddenly frowned, and his dangerous eyes were staring at her. What's the secret? Yunwu didn't seem to hide your eyes. She didn't know it until, at the beginning, she met him in the eyes and suddenly had a suspicion. And all of her public use of the 5 stars Dementor, in fact, is to determine her suspicion guess in the end is right. No accident. This old man is really from the Ouyang family. But unexpectedly, she made a discovery that made her suddenly understand why the descendants of the Ouyang family can't practice the art of heart control eyes. The elder pharmacist's pupil shrunk. What do you mean? What's wrong with our eyes? After staring at the elder pharmacist's eyes for a long time, Yunwu shook his head slightly and said, there's no problem. They all have one characteristic. Maybe it's the seal mark that your ancestors didn't want your family to practice mind control. In fact, Yunwu knows why. However, I'm not sure whether it's like what she guessed. The seal mark set? The elder pharmacist looked at the Cloud Dance, and his aura stood up. Little girl, what can you know when you are young? If you want to fool me, I'm afraid you can't afford the consequences. Cloud Dance smile, you don't believe even, originally. I also want to say that for that kind of seal, maybe I have a way to remove it for you. Don't believe even. Don't you come descend, I'll go to the cliff. With that, Yunwu turned around and continued to walk towards the cliff. The elder pharmacist's body trembled when he heard the words. It's been banned for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, the whole Ouyang family has been in a state of decline, which is due to the failure of Ouyang family's descendants to cultivate their mind control skills. She said she could get rid of it? Is that possible? With a teenage girl like her, can she lift the curse on the Eurasian family? I think it's ridiculous and ridiculous. However, I do not know why. Looking at the girl's back, the pharmacist elder suddenly spoke. You mean it? Yunwu still did not look back and continued to move forward, but he said, I don't have the ability to relieve you, but if it's from you, maybe I have a chance. After that, there was no movement behind him. Yunwu didn't pay much attention to it. When she came to the edge of the cliff, she didn't hesitate to cheat. With a tiptoe, she really jumped directly under the cliff. Brush. A strange figure came and the wind swept by. A blink, and so on Cloud Dance blink again, has just stood on the flower bed. The elder pharmacist on one side looked a little depressed. You girl, do you really jump down? Do you know how high the Xianshan front is from the ground? If you jump like this, even if you have some skills, you will be broken to pieces. In fact, how can Cloud Dance really be stupid? Even if the old man doesn't stop her, she will directly use the space elements to enter the different space. She's not stupid enough to jump off a cliff. However, the old man did it, which means that he believed what she said. Didn't the elder say that anyone who touched your medicinal flower would be thrown down? If I burn such a large piece of you, I will jump down and get the punishment automatically. Cloud Dance looks at that pharmacist elder to say, it's like I'm serious. But let's smell speech of pharmacist elder, in the heart more depressed. He is not stupid. Although this girl looks naive and sincere, her scheming is definitely better than those 5 stars. That 5-star space 3 people play with her is doomed to be played by her that release. Although he stopped her from jumping off the cliff, he didn't really believe that she would. However, what she just said really made him excited. You are a freshman, and those who don't know are not guilty. As for the 5 stars, I will punish them separately after they go back. Cloud Dance picks eyebrow. Oh, a girl, is what you just said true? Can you lift the curse on me? As the pharmacist elder said this, he stared at Yunwu with sharp eyes. Yes, but... Cloud Dance said but did not go on. The pharmacist elder is also a wise man. How can he not understand this little girl's mind? Come on, what conditions? Cloud Dance listen, immediately hook lips a smile, lift eyes to look at the pharmacist elder. Elder, you also see, this freshman has not entered the school, already let the seniors all kinds of dissatisfaction after entering the inner college. I'm afraid life will be very sad. So, I also want to ask the elder, can you get me a pass or a brand or something? As long as you can pass freely, such as Zhongwu Pavilion and so on. Listen, she said it as if it was a small thing. But her words made the elder pharmacist's face stink. Do you think I own the inner college of the Samurai Academy? Yunwu was not in a hurry. He said with a smile, although it's not from the elder. I believe that the elder's ability and status are just a small matter. What's more, even if I can enter the Kangwu Pavilion, I just want to see the low-level martial arts at most. As a little girl, I don't think I can steal the advanced martial arts from the inner college. Is it a success? It's not worth mentioning my little request, elder, compared with lifting the 100-year ban for you, isn't it? The pharmacist elder hears speech, although the facial expression is not quite right. But this little wench says of poor also good. Although it's true that Kangwu Pavilion can't be entered by anyone, it's not really impossible for such a little girl to enter with his status. This girl really just wants to see the low-level martial arts? It seems that her mind is not so simple, just because she is so painstaking, baiting, and hooking. But think about it, with such a little girl as her, even if the advanced martial arts were sent to her, she would not understand it. After thinking for a moment, the elder pharmacist raised his eyes and stared at her. Well, I can promise you your terms, but how do you want to lift the ban on me? Don't worry. You've been banned for hundreds of years. How can you solve it so well? Of course, you need to prepare something. However, it's not too early now. Should I go to the inner college to report? Cloud Dance looks at that pharmacist elder to say. The elder pharmacist stared at her for a long time. Then he regained his sight and regained his dignified expression. Well, it's still a long way from here to inner college. I'll take you there. At the end of the speech, the pharmacist elder pulled Yunwu's arm and moved in a strange direction. Even though Cloud Dance has reached the stage of whooshing, the wind speed in front of it still makes Cloud Dance understand that the strength difference between whooshing and wuzuin is very obvious. About half a stick of incense, just left the boundless flower garden, came to a forest. The forest is extremely dense and prosperous, and the aura that comes from the forest. Is that aura of heaven and earth even thicker? Cloud Dance felt that change, can't help picking eyebrows. But at this time, there was a voice from the elder pharmacist. Look, this is the first step every freshman needs to learn. That is, the step of admission. After letting go of the Cloud Dance, the elder pharmacist stood at the entrance of the forest and began to walk around with all kinds of strange steps. What are you doing? Come and learn. See, Cloud Dance didn't move or stand in the same place. Pharmacist elder, that big voice immediately shouted away. Cloud Dance is coming forward. However, just after the last step, the pace of the pharmacist has been quickly repeated at the foot. One step is not chaotic, more than a dozen changes in the pace at one go. Seeing the pharmacist on the other side, I felt silly. That's what I learned. This girl's talent is really against heaven. No wonder the elder of the inner court wants to send Wu Xingyu to challenge her. It's really, now that you've learned it, follow me, or you'll be trapped in this forest. As the pharmacist said, he moved into the forest. Cloud Dance looks at the pharmacist, who deliberately speeds up and outlines the corner of his mouth. Not a bit slow, the speed is not slow to follow the past. Through the woods, when you see the inner college gate, Cloud Dance the corner of the mouth, that smile deepened a few minutes, but quietly cover up the bottom of the eyes so startled color, because she clearly felt that the abundant aura of heaven and earth was sent out in the scope of the inner college. The thick aura can almost bathe people. What is the reason why the aura of this place is so strong? The inner college is there. You can go in and report on it yourself. I have to go back to see the medicine garden that you burned. When you're finished, I'll come to the gate in the evening. Then I'll give you the sign that can enter the Kangwu Pavilion. Then the old doctor brushed his hand and turned away. Come out at night? Do you need to be so secretive? However, as soon as she entered the college, she met such a pharmacist and reached this agreement, which saved her a lot of trouble. Just as Yunwoo was about to walk towards the gate of the college, a few footsteps came from behind. When she looked back, she almost laughed. See, that 5-star space 3 people. The clothes are ragged, the hair is disorderly, feel like it's just from which hill to climb out of appearance, abnormal, embarrassed. However, the 3 people came from the woods in a hurry. When they saw the cloud dance, their eyes were all angry, and their fists creaked. But at this time, the 3 did not dare to be close to Yunwoo. Even if they were angry and gnashing their teeth, they all kept a distance from her, as if she is a god of pestilence. After entering the college, I remember to report to the academic affairs office for the first time. The elder is still waiting for you. With a cold and angry voice, Wu Xingyu led the 2 students to the inner college gate. If you let others see this image, it would be a shame. Cloud Dance looked at them and couldn't help but smile. Compared with their hurry, she walked slowly towards the inner college. In the Dantian area, however, the cultivation mode has already been opened automatically. In such a place with abundant aura, the cultivation can be twice as effective as in other places. It's just, strangely enough, when I stepped into the inner college, the aura of heaven and earth, which was filled in the air, disappeared. Completely disappeared. The aura outside the gate of the college is so full that it's frightening. Inside the college, I didn't feel any aura. It seems that it's hard to say. What's going on? Cloud Dance stands at the gate of the college, can't help frowning at the difference between the inside and outside of the door. Are you the freshman who will make up for it after today? At this time, a bright voice suddenly came. Following the voice, I saw a young man in a dark yellow inner college uniform standing on the wall of the college door. At this time, he was looking at the clouds. But when looking at the boy, Cloud Dance slightly picked eyebrows, Zhang Lung for a while. Because he looks. Big eyes, long eyelashes, extremely white skin, pink lips, height looks like her. Very pink and lovely. Moreover, under the cover of the morning, the body is still covered with a layer of golden light, as if it were a doll. Is this really a teenager? Not a girl? If you didn't just hear his voice, Yunwoo would have thought that the teenager was a little girl with a doll. I'm talking to you, you're dumb. Just when Yunwoo looked at him, the young man's eyes flashed a look of disgust and impatience, and his original bright voice was suddenly gloomy. It seems that it is uncomfortable for her to look at his sight. Cloud Dance also drew back the line of sight from him. The hook lip indifferently answered a sentence, that you are blind. What? You scold me? The boy's face sank. Yunwoo glanced at him again with a smile and pointed to his clothes. If you are not blind, why ask me if I am a freshman when you see my clothes? There are obvious differences in the colors of the school uniforms of the outer college and the inner college. Although she doesn't really care, she doesn't like to suffer losses. Even verbally. After taking his eyes away from the boy, Yunwoo swept around the college. The scenery of the college was good, but the whole college was silent. Did everyone in the college go to the morning class? Cloud Dance swept a circle, also lift step, prepare to go inside to see where is educational administration building. And the boy who had been watching the Cloud Dance seemed to have looked at her for a long time. Seeing that she didn't stare at him all the time as others did, and showed that kind of salivating, disgusting attitude towards him, her just gloomy face seemed to be better. Are you looking for the educational administration building? Come with me. I'll take you. He has recovered his bright voice and said to Yunwoo. Then, he came forward, grabbed a sleeve of Yunwoo, and pulled her towards the path of the wall. The cloud danced for a moment. When the reaction came over, I couldn't help looking down at her. I grabbed her white hand and frowned at the boy who was pulling her forward. Is there something wrong with this teenager's head? Just now also a pair of disgust to her intolerant appearance, this twinkling of an eye, pull her to lead the way? The Academic Affairs Office of NEI College is located in a remote mountain. It's very difficult for freshmen to find it when they have just entered the college. Walking in front of the youth, the head did not return to say. But after a while, Yunwoo's face changed slightly. Because, She then found that the young man walking in front of her, the feet did not touch the ground and drift forward. It's not power, it's nature, it's very natural. So it feels like a ghost? In the 21st century, in the era of scientific civilization, the theory of ghosts is nonsense. But the fact that her soul can cross the mainland shows that there are ghosts in this world. What's more, there are a lot of strange things in this strange world. Although I know it in my heart, seeing it with my own eyes is another matter. This young man should not be. Who are you? Cloud Dance secretly swallowed mouth saliva. Low voice asked, who? My name is Liana Huan, a third-year student in inner college. The voice of the youth came. Pity Huan? Third grader? So he's human? But I don't know why, in the face of him, Yunwu always feels strange. There's a strange feeling. Girl, his breath is not right. Be careful with him. In my mind, Bai Lao's voice came. However, this is chaos, but at the same time, there is the deep voice of Hayo. He is harmless. Try to get along with him and gain his trust. He will only be good for you in the future. The two voices sounded almost at the same time. This makes Wan Yan's Cloud Dance stunned. This has never happened. Since Bai Lao untied the seal and made a contract with her, the Black Pride of Chaos Hall hardly made a sound. In this case, both of them speak at the same time, but the meaning is opposite. What's going on? Is there something in your body? At this time, the young man in front of him suddenly stopped, turned ahead. That pair of big eyes stare at Cloud Dance to look directly. At this time, Yunwu could see clearly that his eyes were so pure. He isn't really human? How can a human have such pure eyes? Looking at the young man's eyes, Yunwu was really stunned, as if there was a half-ring reaction. Seeing her staring at him again, the boy's face sank again and frowned. What are you looking at? His voice was bright and angry. At this moment, Yunwu found that his eyes would change with his mood. Like now angry, that pair of pure eyes gradually rose a trace of dark red color. Even if it's human, it's definitely not ordinary people. Yunwu raised his mouth slightly, looked at him and said with a smile, You don't seem to like people watching you very much, but you are standing in front of me, and my line of sight is you. You are not forced to see. The young man looked at her with deep eyes. He seemed to think about it for a while. He thought it was reasonable and then went on. But he continued to ask, You haven't answered my question. Is there something in your body? For this question, he seems to insist on the answer. Yunwu kept silent. Well, why don't you answer my question? After walking for a long time, I didn't hear the answer from the Cloud Dance behind. The boy frowned and turned his head. Yunwu then said with a faint smile, Who said that if you ask a question, I must answer it? But this is the most basic courtesy. Even if you don't answer, you should let me know. Are you polite too? These words let the youth discontent immediately. Yunwu raised her eyebrows and said, If you are polite, the most basic thing is not to ask my name first, not to call someone hello as soon as you open your mouth. What's your name? Although the young man was dissatisfied, he really asked, My name is Yunwu. I answered your question. Is it my turn to ask you a question? What's the problem? And your parents? Cloud Dance is a casual problem. And smell speech. The youth pondered for a while, just frown away. Have no? And where were you born? Cloud Dance continues to ask. The young man turned his head and glanced at her. You are the second question. Ask me another question, I'll answer you, and you'll answer me again. That's fair. Cloud Dance continued to cajole. The youth seemed to ponder for a while, then nodded. Then you answer me. I just asked you. Is there something in your body? As for the question he asked for the third time, Yunwu said it was strange. However, he opened his mouth and said, I have nothing in my body but internal organs. Can't your eyes see it? I've seen it, but I can't see through your head. But I seem to hear a sound. There must be something hidden in your head? The young man squinted at the Cloud Dance and said, Cloud Dance heart but clattered. She was also tentative and wanted to see if the teenager was as she had guessed. Indeed, he is pure and very naive. But he did not expect that not only his eyes can see through the human body, but also can hear the voice in her mind? Shit. What kind of monster is he? However, Yunwu quickly converged and said with a smile, I have answered your question. Is it your turn to answer my question? You are lying. I refuse to answer your question. The speed of the youth's advance has been accelerated by a few points. Cloud Dance see this, can't help but frown. This guy, though naive, is not stupid at all. He is not easy to deceive. But all of a sudden, she had a flash of inspiration. The hand he was holding onto his sleeve was his white hand. The delicate touch, can't help but let Cloud Dance long for a while. Almost want to burst foul language. That slippery, tender touch. Really a man? Even if it was her skin didn't feel like that. However, just at the moment when the boy's startled reaction came over, a soil element surged up from her body and immediately shrouded him. At that moment, his drifting body was like a heavy object, and his feet stood on the ground. This change changed the boy's face. But this is, Cloud Dance suddenly says to him, as punishment for lying, I'll tell you a secret. How about it? Young this sink eyes in a hearing, the fundus of the eyes a little bit over a trace of curiosity that would like to resist the action also stopped. Slightly looked up to the Cloud Dance. What secret? Cloud Dance said, but then stopped. Eyes like a thief swept around, just mysteriously gathered up. I really have something, but if I have something found by others, I will certainly be missed by others, so you have to help me keep a secret. Hearing the words, the young man's eyes suddenly brightened. What is that? Take it out, and I'll keep it a secret for you. Cloud Dance looked at his reaction, can't help but determine what he thought. This young man seems to be too simple. Is it really human? Looking at the boy, Cloud Dance suddenly flashed a smile. But the action was furtive, which made the atmosphere mysterious. After the young man was very curious, he thought about it. Just after that red flash, a 2-year-old baby appeared in her arms. In addition, there is a small red flower and a small red snake, all wrapped around the head of the little Stinky. The bald head was set off by the red flower and the circling red snake, not to mention how strange. But it doesn't hinder the cute appearance of the little Stink at all. It seemed that he was suddenly awakened. After rubbing the sleeping big eyes, he looked up at the Cloud Dance, but its 2 words are just a drop. Whoosh! In the twinkling of an eye, it was directly transferred to another person's arms. The young man's eyes were wide and curious, and he looked at the little odor in his hands. His pure eyes seemed to be unable to hide the excited streamer. How can it look like a man or a bird? What is it? What's its name? Is it your secret? It's like I can't stop. But at this time, the little Stink was finally relieved. That pair of big cute eyes staring at the young man. Suddenly ferocious anger. Small claws brush. Sharp claws come out. Straight wave the young man away. Obviously, before he was in a coma, his memory remained in the situation of the Warring States division. The boy wanted to pinch his fat face. But brush. The sharp claw splits down horizontally. It's full of power. Young people also subconsciously let go. Yunwu took the opportunity to catch it and brought back the little Stink. Little Stink, calm down. Cloud Dance said softly. Just out of control like a little Stink, also slowly began to recover. But at this time, the redling and the little red snake on the head of the little Stink just woke up and moved. However, there was not much movement. How fierce! The boy looked at the little Stink and frowned. Yunwu said with a smile, it's my secret. It's called Xiaoqiu. It's a kind of mixed blood warcraft. At the same time, it's also my contract beast. Half-blood? Contract beast? Listening to the words of Cloud Dance, the young man's pure eyes, staring at the little Stink, seemed to consume the meaning of her words. It's half a ring. Are you the summoner? The youth just raises mouth to see to Cloud Dance, some serious like ask away. Cloud Dance looked at him, inexplicably hook-lipped smile, Yes? And her answer let the young eyebrow inexplicably wrinkled, staring at the cloud dance in the eyes, also seems to flash inexplicable undercurrent. My secret has been told to you. You can promise to keep it secret for me, so you should keep your promise. Finish saying, cloud dance also not in much, embrace small stink, cross his own to walk toward that path. Watching her figure, the boy pondered for a moment and asked, You don't ask me any questions? Don't ask. I already know what I should know. It's nice to meet you, Juan. Cloud Dance's head also didn't return of waved a hand, so left. Pity Juan, who stayed in the same place, watched her figure disappear all the time, then looked down at her feet. He still has that kind of gravity in his body, so that he can clearly feel the touch of down-to-earth. Is this the feeling of human feet stepping on the ground? In fact, he's not used to it. He feels like he's very heavy. But what about ordinary badges? How could it be an ordinary badge? The colleges that can enter the inner college are all talented students selected from the top of the outer college. But how could the badge she wore be the common badge of the freshmen in the foreign college? Are you really a student who has been selected into the inner college? The tutor frowned and asked again. For his question and expression, Yunwoo naturally understood what it meant. But she nodded politely. Yes, Mr. Wu Xingyu. Let me come to the Academic Affairs building to report to the elder. Excuse me, where is the report room? 5 stars? Hearing Wu Xingyu's name, the tutor's puzzled eyes were slightly restrained. The freshman did hear that the elder sent Wuk Xinjiu, one of the senior students, to Shoei College to meet them. It's just, how can this be connected with a girl wearing a common badge? What's more, it seems that her clothes are new students. Elder 5 is on the 6th floor. Go to the 6th floor and report to him. However, before you go to the 6th floor, you should go to the 4th floor and take the test results with you. The tutor looked at the cloud and said, 5 elders? Cloud dance and hear that address. Eyebrow front suddenly a pick. 5? Is it a member of the 5th generation family? Thank you, tutor. Yunwoo politely said thanks to the tutor, and then walked towards the revolving staircase hanging in the middle. The tutor watched her go upstairs, frowning all the time. What are you looking at? Is that the student who just entered the inner hospital today? It's very young. Another passing tutor, looking at the frowning and stupefied tutor, asked, She's a newcomer, but she's wearing an ordinary badge, or a freshman who just entered the outer courtyard. No, it should not be possible. How can a freshman run for admission to the inner college? Yunwoo heard the two tutors' doubts and discussions, but she didn't care much. Ordinary badge? Freshman? That's all true. But sometimes, what we see in front of our eyes is not real, which is often overlooked by the world. Spiral stairs, step by step up, as if there is no end. Fortunately, there are signs on every floor. When Yunwoo came to the 4th floor, he followed the sign, walked slowly into the dark passage, and walked inside. It's time for practice class. How can you why? Are you from a foreign college? Just as Yunwoo was about to go in, an old voice came from behind. Look around. It was an old man with a white beard, about 70 or 80 years old. But listen to his voice, but full of zhongqi, walk steady and polite. If he is not a mentor, he should also be an elder. Seeing the old man coming, Yunwoo politely called out, Hello? When the old man came to see Yunwoo's school uniform and badge, an undercurrent flashed through his eyes. Are you the freshman who just entered the college and participated in the college quota competition? The old man's voice, with a little interest to ask. Cloud Dance nods, yes. Seeing her pretty good appearance, the old man reached out and touched the white beard, then asked again, Come to test. Come on, I'll take you to the test room. Then the old man passed her and went to the front passage. Seeing this, Yunwoo naturally followed up slowly. The old man is introverted and almost can't feel any fluctuation of power. It seems that his strength is even better than that of the pharmacist. Are all the old men in the college so powerful? So if she's looking for that map, isn't it a hassle? Through the passage, came to a hall. The room is very spacious, but, as below, there are many rooms around the hall. Maybe it's time for the inner college to practice, so there is no one in the whole hall. The old man took Yunwu to choose a room and went in. "What's your name, little girl?" After entering the room, the old man went to the table next to the room and asked, "Cloud dance." Cloud dance answers. However, the line of sight swept the room all around. More than 10 square meters of space. Besides the 5 stones on the table, there was a strange mirror in the room. Why strange? The mirror is facing the door, but people come in. It's strange that people can't be found in the mirror. Just as Yunwu was staring at the mirror, the old man seemed to notice her puzzled eyes, with a smile on her face. "Wait a minute, you just have to stand in front of that. Don't worry." Cloud dance smell speech. Draw back the vision of looking at that old man. "Up to now, I still don't know how to respect you." The old man said with a smile, "People call me 5 elders. Is he the 5 elders? Is that a member of the 5th generation family or not?" When he finished speaking, the 5 elders turned and left. The cloud dance in the room didn't say anything. But as soon as the 5 elders left, Yunwu moved almost instantaneously and came to the strange mirror again. "I saw, in the purplish red light, a serious look. You will find that there is a small group of white flames, flashing in the purplish red light. Cold goo fire?" 3 words, very cold, spit out from the cloud. In her body, there is still a small cold goo fire? Why didn't she find out? However, Yunwu's face was cold. Heart rate a move, the hands of the blue ring flash, blue flash of the moment, Blue Yu figure immediately appeared in her side. At the moment when Lan Yu appeared, the temperature in the air dropped rapidly, and the space was directly covered by a layer of ice. "Master! Lan Yu, help me take out the cold poison fire in my body." Cloud Dance pointed to that purple-red light inside the white flame. Low cold way. She didn't feel the cold and poisonous fire. She didn't feel any threat. However, she understood that it was the ink white that was injected into her body to locate her position. No wonder he was so loud at that time that he said she couldn't escape from him. No wonder at the beginning, as soon as she and Long Qingxie came out of Nanshan, the ink white came after her. He has been using Lingguo Huo to locate her? Blue Yu smell speech. That pair of blue eyes swept a circle on Cloud Dance body. Just frown way. It's injected into the most fragile bone marrow behind you and can't be taken out. When you listen to the Cloud Dance, your eyes are cold. In the bone marrow? However, I can suck it out, but that will suck out part of your bone marrow blood. Cause severe pain and weakness for a while. Blue Yu stares at Cloud Dance to say, smell speech. Cloud Dance but don't have the slightest hesitation. Suck. Hurry up. After hearing this, Lan Yu didn't slow down, so she pasted the position of Yunwu's back ribs on her palm. The sting came. Cold ice cold idea. Along his palm straight into the Cloud Dance body. Then, there was a sharp pain of ice penetrating into the bone, which suddenly attacked the nerves of Yunwu's whole body. Pain. Severe pain, but Cloud Dance is just dead bite root of teeth, not even a dull hum. The process of Lan Yu's sucking out the cold goo fire is a little slow. The pain continued. The cold sweat gradually flows down from Yunwu's forehead, breathing heavily, and his face is really pale. But Yunwu still didn't hum a sound. Just like that, his eyes were staring at the mirror, watching the cold poisonous fire being gradually pulled out of the purplish red light by a light blue light. That cold goo fire has been in her body for a period of time, was forced to suck out, brought out a lot of bone marrow blood. As the blood of the bone marrow was drawn out, it was obvious that the purplish red light in the mirror began to fade. When Lan Yu finally sucked out the cold goo fire, Yunwu's whole body seemed to be drained of strength in an instant. A long breath, a soft foot. If it wasn't for Lan Yu to help her in time, I'm afraid she would fall on the ground. That's the cold goo fire? Cloud Dance slants ahead, looking at Blue Yu another palm inside of a small regiment blood red flame. Lan Yu nodded, yes, the red one is your bone marrow blood, which has been gradually fused. Gradually integrated? What do you mean? Cloud Dance frowned. If the cold goo fire is completely fused with all your bone marrow and blood, you can't even suck it out. At that time, if you want to pull it out, you can only pull your rib out. Lan Yu said. However, when Yan's face suddenly sank. Damn it. If she didn't test this talent today, would she never find it? And the final result is that her body is always planted with a locator? The old man is coming back soon. Just then, Lan Yu suddenly looks at the door. You go back to space for a while, and I'll let you out later. The cloud dances towards the blue road. Although contract animals are usually brought into the space by their owners, Yunwu can't feel it. Their emptiness and boredom in the space lead them to sleep. She had no intention of contracting them. However, even if she contracted them, she needed to treat them well. Being put in such a space of income was like being imprisoned, which was really not what she wanted. So, Yunwu thought, when the situation here is dealt with, it will release them all. Now in this college, it's not the time to let others know that they exist. 5 elders with 2 sets of college uniforms quickly return. Time is just good. Just as soon as I opened the door, the cold air on my face made the elder 5 frown. The sharp eye light immediately swept toward the room all around. But see, the room in addition to that stand in front of the table cloud dance, and nothing different. It seems that the air in this room is much colder than it was just now. What happened just now? The 5 elders' eyes flashed to doubt. However, he found nothing after sweeping the room, so the 5 elders took back their mind and went to Yunwu. Yunwu girl, here are 2 sets of inner college uniforms. They are about your size. You can change them here first. I'll go out and wait for you. 5 elders said, put the school uniform on the table. Thank you, Elder 5. Cloud Dance slightly raised thanks. However, when the 5 elders saw her pale face, their doubts deepened a little. But in the end, the 5 elders didn't say anything, so they turned out of the room. After Yunwu put on her clothes and arranged them, she secretly brought out the aura in the Hall of Chaos, added a little vitality, and then walked out of the room. Outside the hall, the 5 elders are talking with the tutor. When he saw the cloud dance coming out, he brushed his hand to let the tutor go to work and looked at the coming cloud dance with a smile. Yes, the school uniform fits well. By the way, this is the badge of the first-year students in the inner college. The token of the accumulated points is attached to the chest, and the token is attached to the waist. Remember, the inner college needs to rely on the token to survive, so don't lose the token. With that, the 5 elders handed the badge and a black token to Yunwu. After hearing this, Yunwu was surprised. Is the token really so important? Lost, not even able to survive? After taking the token and badge from the 5 elders, Yunwu couldn't help looking at the token. In fact, it's a brand made of black iron. Except for the word 1, there is no totem on it. There is nothing special about it. However, Yunwu also remembered that not long ago, when he entered the pharmacist elder's medicine garden, the 5-star universe also took out such a similar token in his hand. Is the token used to open the array? There are still many arrays in this college, aren't they? Looking at the token in hand, Yunwu guessed countless possibilities. However, it was not long before she found out what the real use of the token was for. Let's go. I've asked the tutor to arrange the dormitory for you. After class, just go to the dormitory building and ask. Now I'll take you to the class first. When the 5 elders had finished speaking, they led them and went. Cloud danced slowly over God, put away the badge and token, also followed. After walking out of the educational administration building, I went straight along a main road. Then turn left, turn right. As for the number of turns, Yunwu felt a little confused. Even if this inner college is located at such a high place, it can be isolated by array. Now the road inside the college is still 7 turns and 8 turns. Inexplicably give Cloud Dance a kind of, this inner college seems to be in defense of something, inside 3, let alone freshmen. It is estimated that an old student who has not lived in this college for a year and a half will not be able to get around. It's no wonder that Liana Huan, who just met at the gate of the college, would say that she couldn't find the educational administration building. After walking about half a column of incense, I finally came to a row of buildings in a lawn garden. And still, it's similar to the Educational Administration building. Behind the classroom building is the steep cliff. The students of Inner College are divided into 6 levels, from grade 1 to grade 6, and each grade has 1 floor. The 5 elders introduced and took Yunwoo into the classroom building. You are a freshman who has just entered the Inner College, so you are on the 1st floor. Because the class size is limited, the only one with vacant seats is at the end of the class, that is, Class 10. Under the introduction of the 5 elders, Yunwoo swept around when she entered the building. Eye-catching is still that spacious hall, with the spacious rotating stairs. After the stairs is a pass off and on both sides of the channel. Cloud dance when with 5 elder steps through the channel, finally stopped at the end of the channel after a class door. At this time, the class became very quiet because of the arrival of the 5 elders. Almost everyone's vision are swept in the door position. On the stage of the class tutor, there was a young woman in her early 30s. When she saw the arrival of the 5 elders, she bowed respectfully. Elder 5, what can I do for you? This girl, called Yunwoo, came to class 10 today to give birth. I brought her to you, and you can arrange it. When the 5 elders said this, they pointed to the cloud dance behind them. Smell speech, that female tutor's line of sight also looked to cloud dance. When I saw cloud dance's pale face and weak breath, I obviously frowned. However, how dare those who were sent by the 5 elders themselves say anything? He nodded respectfully and said, Don't worry, Elder 5. I will arrange it properly. 5 elder this just satisfaction nod. He turned to Yunwoo and said, Yunwoo girl, you should have a good class first. If you don't know anything, you can ask your tutor and classmates. Thank you, Elder 5. Yunwoo smiles and nods. Then you go to class. 5 elders said, very kind of hand patted Cloud Dance's shoulder, as if it was just a very casual action. However, the power of detection is in his action of clapping his shoulder to detect the body of Cloud Dance. When I felt that there was no expected strong breath in her body, on the contrary, it was the excessive weakness. A trace of doubt passed through her eyes. This girl, how can she be so weak? However, this kind of behavior of detecting quietly, the 5 elders also quickly converged back. As if nothing had happened, he turned and left. Yunwoo doesn't know the detection he just made, but she doesn't have to cover it up at this time. The blood from the bone marrow was drawn out, and her body was in a weak state for the time being. Therefore, the results of his exploration can be imagined. Seeing that the 5 elders had left, the female tutor would smile at Yunwoo and say, Your name is Yunwoo, right? Come on in. You'll be in the 3rd seat below my right row. Cloud Dance is also polite, seemingly, nodded respectfully to the female tutor, and then walked along the position that the tutor pointed to. The 3rd row, the 3rd seat, is a very front seat. However, this class is not very big, plus her, just 15 people. Cloud Dance just walked to that seat to sit down. Behind came a low voice. You were let in by the oldest 5 elders in the college. Did you come in through the back door? Back door? Cloud Dance's to pick eyebrow. Tiny turned head to the person behind to see one eye. It was a young man of 18 or 19 years old. He was pretty, but he looked at Yunwoo with a suspicious look. For that kind of eyes, Cloud Dance is too familiar. Because, since she stepped into the King's Samurai Academy, that kind of eyes seemed to become a sign of her existence. Glancing at him, Yunwoo took back her sight, and her reaction is to let that young man frown. But the bottom of my heart is automatically determined. She is through the back door. One face is morbid, breath is weak. This kind of person can enter inside college. Estimate don't know to spend how many thoughts just come in. Around the students is also the same kind of look at the cloud, whispered in private. It's not a drag to enter our class even though we are so weak. That's to say, our class was at the bottom of the list, but now it's such a waste, with the intention of making our class have no place to turn over in front of other classes. Our class was beaten down by other classes every time because we didn't care about that useless waste. This time, with such a sick and weak person going backstage, when will our class 10 turn over? Murmur in the dark gradually spread throughout the class. Well, classmate, it's not the time for us to mumble and chat. Come on, let's continue with the topic we just finished. With the strength of the female tutor, how can we not hear the low voice in the classroom? However, the cultivation of tutors is much deeper than that of students. In particular, in such a rigorous and difficult internal college, in some cases, one should turn a blind eye. As for cloud dance, it is natural to ignore this situation directly. A morning course. Cloud dance is also understood, this first year's general course. It's about the decomposition of force, the understanding of tactics, arrays, and even geography. There is no textbook, just a simple story. It is estimated that this kind of course is simpler than modern universities. In fact, those are of little use to Yunwoo, because it's better to go directly to actual combat than to break down the tactics and geography of force. However, the only thing that makes Yunwoo interested is that array. Although, this grade, for this array course, seems to be just the beginning of understanding. However, it is enough to arouse the interest of cloud dance. I don't know. Is there any book about array in the Kangwoo Pavilion? Thinking of Kangwoo Pavilion, Yunwoo can't help looking forward to the arrival of the evening. As long as she gets the sign from the pharmacist elder, she can go to Kangwoo Pavilion to have a look. By the way, in the evening, it's time for her to start looking for the map. Fix it. All of a sudden, a strange whistle sounded, and the course ended like this. Well, students, today's course is over. Cloud dance student, you are a freshman. If you have any questions you don't understand, please ask other students or me. The female tutor looked at the cloud dance and said with a smile, well, students, class is over. After that, the female tutor didn't stay much, so she turned and left. After the tutor left, the people in the class looked at Yunwoo and said nothing more, so they left in a hurry. You're not going? I'm not going to have lunch. Just then, a voice came from behind. Cloud Dance turned to see the young man behind him, speechless. The young man frowned at her again. However, she still got up from her seat and looked at her with her arms around her chest. I am the monitor of this class. My name is Ling Feng. Although, I really despise you. Since you have entered our class 10, you are the person of our class 10. Hurry up, don't dawdle after class. For the sake of your freshmen, I'll take you to the canteen. Listen to his words. Cloud Dance can't help but eyebrow pick. What else are you looking at? Hurry up, don't delay the time, or we won't have dinner together. Look at Cloud Dance, turn to see to him. Ling Feng tone also can't bear. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.